In a studio that's in a basement comes the epic story of how two friends changed the future of the movie podcast game forever. The reviews are in. Boys Life magazine gives the High Sci podcast 4.5 acorns. The Daily Bugle says, these guys are super legit. And Pope Francis declares the podcast as life-affirming. From the kid who tried to get smart with David Spade and got fucking old.
You're still out. You're still bad.
And the guy who can name all four Baldwin brothers.
Alec, William, Daniel, and the baby boy, Stephen.
Live from the studio of his parents' basement. The Have You Seen It podcast.
I'm gonna have to get that for a Halloween episode or something.
Ooh,
like
that'd
that.
be good, yeah. Coming back. Speaking of Halloween and some creepy, scary shit.
Oh, ooh.
Man, we are here to talk today about Ari Aster's second film, Midsommar.
Is this one of our most anticipated movies of the year? I mean,
Absolutely.
we have talked about this movie
So much. Probably
If you
it's
probably have watched-
numbing to the ears by now how
If
much
you-
we've talked about this movie.
If you have watched probably any one of our podcasts, like literally if you randomly picked any one of the last, 6 months?
Yeah.
You're probably going to hear
You're
us
probably
talk
going to hear
about
Midsommar talk.
at least Midsommar or at least Ari Aster or Hereditary, because we bring up Hereditary quite a bit.
We have
also.
recently, yeah. I think for anticipation of this movie.
Hereditary is a movie, though, I just think about daily. Where I mean, honestly, it's something that I think will stick for me for
the rest of your life.
I mean, be on my deathbed and just remembering some of those gruesome scenes.
That's the one time that you just don't want to remember, right?
No.
You don't want that being the last thing you think of
No,
before you
God,
go lights
no.
out for eternity.
No, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it is burnt into my memory.
It is.
But this is not Hereditary. This is Midsommar, and it's a little different from Hereditary.
Yeah, it is.
I would say.
Yeah, and I was actually shocked at how much different it was.
Yes, I agree. I was likely probably as shocked. Yeah, it's not so much as a straightforward horror movie. Although Hereditary, you could say, is maybe not a straightforward horror movie. Ari Aster says it's more of a family drama.
Yes.
And I think this is more of a breakup movie than it is a
Well,
horror
and that's
film.
what you told me, because you saw this movie like a week before I did.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, it's just basically a giant breakup movie. And that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, well,
it's just with
so you
so
would
many
agree now that
fucked
you
up
saw it. Yeah,
elements
exactly.
in between.
Yeah, and the more I think about it, the more I believe it to be true that this is just not. I don't think this is a horror film. I think this is just an insane breakup film and a film about loss. Like, I mean, actually tragedy and whatnot, and kind of overcoming that.
Man, yeah, that I don't know how Ari does it, but he gives, like, in those certain scenes, man, he just gives you the most creepy feeling ever. Like that, you know, the Act 1, the opening scene. I mean, I know we're going to jump into it, but that stuff like that with the carbon monoxide and like water. Oh my God. It's so eerie.
Can
creepy
honestly say I do not know how he gets his actresses and actors to
perform so well.
Well, to portray loss so well. I don't think I've seen anything of it in any other movie. I don't know what he's telling them on script, but with Toni Collette in Hereditary,
when she's wailing,
and then Florence Pugh, who's the main actress in this,
when her whole family died,
but even the scene
when
she finds out that her boyfriend, we'll get into it, but ends up cheating on her later, and it's real, man. It looks real. It looks like maybe Ari Aster came on set and was like, I just got this call. You're not gonna I gotta see you down, but both
your whole
parents,
family's dead. They're dead.
Dead, all of them dead.
And action.
Yeah, and then the back he goes, get the cameras rolling.
This shit's real. I got the death certificates.
wanna
They're
catch-
fake, but she has no idea.
Trust me, you're gonna want to catch this on camera because she's gonna lose her goddamn mind when I tell her her entire family was murdered.
Right? Yeah.
Because that is what it looks like, man. It looks like I'm watching fucking a home film that someone snuck in a camera.
Totally.
During a tragedy, something you don't want to see.
And you see like film crying, and we've gotten so accustomed to it that we look at it as reality. But that's what Ari Aster does so brilliantly and so well. Is it's like he's like, no, let's take it to the next level. Fuck it. Fuck this film crying. Let's go for it.
Well, film crying, whatever that is, it's usually,
Well, it's more low key.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's
It is
still
beautiful.
good
Yeah,
looking.
it's aesthetically very pleasing.
But real tragedy is ugly,
It's
man.
ugly as hell.
It's ugly, and
I think you're right on the nose with that. And
Yeah.
he portrays the ugly side of
it's
grief.
just a complete breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and I mean, but we've kind of been talking about these films for the last few weeks. For some reason, they've always come up with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, with having to take a break after you do a role.
Exactly.
This is one of those where you got to go do like a lighthearted comedy right after.
You know, I agree with that, but I almost disagree in some ways. I feel like yes, for the lead
Pugh.
actress Florence Pugh, I think definitely you have to do something.
Well, that's what I
else.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah, for her, you have to.
And
'cause this is
even
so-
her boyfriend.
and the boyfriend, right? But I
Her
think
boyfriend played by
everyone
Jack
else-
Rayner. Yeah.
Jack Rayner, which is great, which I thought was going to play Han Solo a few years back, which was my choice for that, if you remember. But and you know what, he came out last week. I forgot to bring this up on movie news, but it's Midsommar, so it's in relativity.
Mm-hmm.
He regretted not playing Han Solo. So. But,
Well, I mean,
you know.
did he really? I mean, how could you really regret after Han Solo came out and he's seen
Yeah, but
what's
it could,
happened to it?
yeah. That is very
I don't think he was going to change it. And to be honest, the guy who played Han Solo, I mean, I'm forgetting his name.
he did a great job.
He did. I mean, it was
Yeah,
the
he
best
did
part of the movie.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I love Jack Rayner, but I think Jack Rayner, he's also made some good choices when it comes to filming.
Definitely.
Because what was
because he doesn't have a ton of credits. He only has 24 credits, which is a lot as an actor, but I mean,
Yeah, but how many credits of movies we
really
actually
started
know?
work in 2010. So
With-
he's been consistently working.
Well, he was in Transformers: Age of Extinction. Let's not forget that. He played her boyfriend.
Yeah,
So
okay.
maybe not. But
that was early on in his career where he's still trying to get credits. He had less than 10 credits. So it's like you can't fault an actor for wanting to work. And he was in Sing Street as well as Brandon.
well, that's the thing.
Brendan.
That's the thing I remember the most from is
Great
Sing
film.
Street. Sing Street was a really, really good film. Yeah.
I'd love to rewatch that someday.
And that had to have been the film that got him probably this job.
Yes.
Right. I mean, he's very likable, but he could play an asshole though too. He's an asshole in this. He is at sometimes, but it's such an odd
Sometimes,
thing
but
because
it-
you know where he's
yeah.
coming from. But then
I
again,
do know where he's
but
coming
then
from.
again, there's parts where he's just definitely a straight up asshole.
But see, that's the thing. That's like with characters, you see where you agree with them, and you see their flaws as well.
Oh yeah,
And you could see everyone's flaws in this movie.
And it's not just like a straight up fucking like rom-com where you know the bad. I mean, you know, like this one guy, he's one shaded. He's just here to be an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Where the boyfriend Jack Rayner, he definitely. I mean, you could see where he's coming from. There was definitely parts where you
getting
could
a
see that he
constant-
was just
yeah.
an asshole, but also he's put in one of the toughest situations
Right.
in the world.
And they set that up in like literally the first scene where she calls him hour after hour after hour after hour after hour.
And I knew just. I mean.
And it's like, man, could you imagine being in a relationship like that for 3 years where your girlfriend's constantly in this state of like, I'm not good enough. I need attention. I need empathy kind of thing. Like that would get exhausting after a while.
Yeah.
Even Jack's yes, he is an asshole at times in this movie, but he's also the nice guy where it's like, he doesn't know how to break up with her, which is also a really shitty thing to do in
Well,
retrospect.
it's the entire
But
thing where he should have broke up with her a long, long time ago.
He should have.
He was
Yes.
he was putting her on for far too long.
Correct.
And
making things worse.
because he knew that it wasn't going to last forever, but he was leading her on to thinking that they were going to make it for the long run,
Mm-hmm.
and then he's put into a situation where he literally can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
And then when he does, it's too late.
yeah, he's whoa, it's much too late.
Yeah.
But I mean. But well, let's just let me give you the synopsis for this film, Mason, if you don't know much about it.
No, I don't.
A couple travels to Sweden to visit a rural hometown of fabled midsummer festival. What begins as an idyllic retreat quickly devolves into an increasingly violent and bizarre competition at the hands of a pagan cult. Oh, it's got cults in it.
Of course. And I do love a good cult.
We all do. And Ari Aster does a good. He's very good at doing a very scary cult. The cult in
Yes.
Hereditary was very fucking frightening.
Terrifying.
Especially because they're all naked half the
Yeah.
time.
Just waltzing around, just walking around is very strange.
And it's a lot about this too. But what did you think about this, Mason? Because you saw it a little week after it came. I saw it right in
did.
the midst of all this.
I got to tell you, man, there's something about this style of filmmaking that I just love from Ari Aster. he in every single movie seems to like surprise you in ways that you didn't think you could be surprised in film. And I'm talking in specifics for the cinematography of this, in the way that you always felt like you were tripping. You look at the background, it's always twisting, it's always moving, and nothing ever stays the same.
Because they were on drugs.
Because they're on drugs most of the time.
But he did, and I agree with you too. That's the thing that I really took from it, was that job of making it seem like we were all fucking on drugs and we're all kind of following this trip with her along. Because you're right. And we talked about this off camera or off mic, but we both said that we'd want to go back because there's so many things in the background. One of the scenes where she's tripping, it's towards the end and they're kind of carrying her. And for sure, it's a split second.
Yes, there's a face.
But there's a face in the background.
There is a face.
Is there not?
I saw it too.
And I wasn't sure. It might have been her dad's face because at one point she does see her mom again.
She does.
But it might. But
I didn't know. It looked more feminine to me. The face.
Yeah. Well, to me, it looked like an old man. See, so that's
yeah, we
exactly.
Gotta go back and watch it again.
See,
yeah.
And it was one of those things where it's so nice because it wasn't shoved in your face or whatever. It's for a split second. You have to be like focusing on the background to be able to see it. But you have to imagine those are things. There's all kinds of things like that in the movie that you really have to focus on. That I'm sure me and you both missed.
Yes.
But because like I mean they're building it up. They build it up through the entire start with like through paintings and everything like that. They pretty much tell the entire story through art.
Right. They show you instead of tell you, which is something I appreciate about his filmmaking as well.
Something I thought they did just amazing. The cinematography was absolutely amazing, but the sound design. I mean, there's some points where it seems like it's like completely silent. Like they'll be talking and it seems like they're almost in like a vacuum or something in space where it's so quiet and it's so fucking eerie because they're outside the entire time.
They are.
But at some point there's no sound at all and you're just hearing the characters talk and it without really doing anything, it makes it feel like just 10 times creepier. It makes everything creepy. But yeah, the sound and the limited, just like Hereditary where there wasn't very much sound. I mean, it's not like there's no jump scares or anything. There's no hard chords where like there's no there's nothing telling you like there's a scary scene coming.
Totally.
There's no build up for it.
And that's a good point to make too, because in the moments with the most tension in this movie, it was complete silence,
dead silent, like,
and that's
not
what
even
makes
just
it more,
like ambient silence, but there's no sound at all, and it's just fucking bizarre. You're not really sure why.
Like one of the main scenes when that was a big moment, and it was just dead silent.
And you're not really sure why it's so fucking creepy, but it is.
It is.
I don't know
it just
what
makes
it is.
you feel uneasy.
Silence is scarier to me than
just having
yelling
music in the background all the time. Yeah.
Well, let's jump into it, Mason.
Let's do this
because this movie.
I am excited to talk about.
I was shocked by how this movie started. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be shocked by anything that Ari Aster shows us.
No.
But it gets right fucking into it in the first
it does.
5 minutes. So it follows anxiety-ridden college student Danny Ardor, that's played by Florence Pugh, as she suffers a severe emotional trauma. And, at first she's calling her boyfriend, who's Jack Rayner, and he's already he's with all of his friends, and they're acting like a dick because he knows... Or they know that he kind of wants to break up with her and whatnot, and he won't. But she's calling him, and she's calling him, and she's worried about her sister who has bipolar disorder because she sent a really weirded, like, cryptic email.
She said goodbye.
Yeah, well, she said, it's all black now, and I'm taking mom and dad with me.
Yeah.
Goodbye. And so she's been frantically, like, emailing her back, trying to call her.
And she's calling the parents, and we see the shot of them sleeping.
Yeah.
We think, yeah. But I wasn't going to ruin it, yeah. But yeah, I mean, we think they're sleeping. But, she calls them, and she's leaving voicemails. And I thought that was odd at first. I was like, how are they sleeping through? I thought it was almost a comedy moment where I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. Old people don't wake up to phones. But I was like, man, that seems just so odd.
Yeah, and that was another thing where it's like from the first 5 seconds of seeing it, I immediately felt like something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like something, like it's just so frantic and like high energy. You immediately start thinking, "Oh my god, what is going to happen?" Because it starts out with like such a high energy kind of scene and everything, and then it just turns for the worst.
Yes, it does.
And we find out that the sister ended up suicide her parents and herself in the fucking
the most dark way, man. It's so fucking
it could only come from the mind of Ari Aster.
And that's so true too, because you go stereotypical and you're like, oh, what would be super dark? Oh, they get stabbed in bed or something.
Yeah.
Blood everywhere. But the way I felt when they revealed how she killed her parents, it made me feel so fucking uneasy.
I know.
It did.
I
was
know.
like, oh my God, she went through all that prep and planning to kill her own parents and to kill herself.
Well, it's something I really appreciate. I don't appreciate how she killed her parents, obviously, but I appreciate it from a movie standpoint, where it's like, all because she's suicidal doesn't mean that she could have the ability to go stab her parents to death. Also because you're suicidal doesn't mean you're a cold-blooded fucking killer all of a sudden. It just means and a really easy way where it's really hands off is monoxide poisoning.
Yeah,
I mean,
and we get that constant thing where it's like, oh, you kill 3 people if the train hits them, but you had nothing to do with it, or you have to kill one person by pulling the lever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And it's kind of that thing where it's like, well, she didn't do it physically, kill them, like choke them to death or anything. No. She just poisoned them.
But it's horrible, dude. And it's not even like, I mean, it's what I assume is what monoxide or whatever poisoning, because comes from
carbon monoxide.
Yeah, what she does is she
poisoning.
hooks up the
hoses.
She hooks up hoses, and she brings it all
the way upstairs.
So it's something that she thought about.
Definitely.
For a long time.
Yeah, there's planning involved in this.
Yeah.
There's definitely some high level planning involved, because you got to buy duct tape. Okay, you got to have tape. You got to have the
tubes.
hoses. You got to have tubes. You got to have that whole setup.
Yeah. And you gotta know your parents gotta be asleep. You gotta know that they're asleep when they're doing it, because she had to tape up the whole goddamn fucking doors.
Down on the bottom, down on the top too, so nothing leaked.
And then eventually Danny gets a call from the police, and I love this scene of the cops coming in. It's just shot very well, and you just know how horrible, because we see the first thing it shows is the tubes of the car.
Yep. Yeah, it shows the car first, them turning it off, and immediately I go, oh, her sister killed herself in the garage.
In the car.
That's all I thought. I thought the sister just killed herself in the garage, and I'm like, oh, that's sad. But then I don't see a body, and they turn off both the cars, and I go, where is she?
Yeah.
And then they reveal the tubes.
The tube, and then they open up, and it's again super well shot. They follow the tubes all up, and they're following the firemen and everything, and they break down.
Yeah, and as they get to the door, that's when they're ripping off the tape and breaking down the door and opening it.
And then we just kind of get like the smoke or whatever, the exhaust comes out, and her parents are frozen in whatever position that they fucking died. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we find out that they're poisoned, and then it keeps going, and it follows another tube, because it splits off into 3, or it splits off. I think it's 3 different tubes.
Well, yeah, it's 2 tubes that go into the parents' room, and then 1 tube into the office with the computer and stuff that the sister's sitting there.
And then it just shows you that fucking Ari Aster scene, that one frame that's going to be stuck in your head. In Hereditary, it was the little girl's head, probably.
For sure.
And in this one, it's just that picture of
her being her body so poisoned that her face is like disordered,
falling apart, and her eyes are frozen. She's gray, and it's just horror. And she's got throw up coming down from so realistic, and it's just scarring. That's all it is.
It's disgusting. But this is exactly why we go see these kind of movies.
Exactly.
And thank you, Ari, for doing such a fantastic job with that.
Yeah, and then it goes to one of those scenes, and it shows Danny, and she's just.
Well, yeah, Jack then gets the call, and he's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And we don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, we do know.
She's just screaming.
Yeah, she's just screaming, and then he shows up, and then we get that awesome scene where she's just wailing in his arms.
Yeah. And before that, we got the whole thing of Jack. He's been trying to break up with this chick. They've been dating for 3 years.
Yeah, even the friends are like, dude, it's time. Just break up with her.
Yeah. It sucks, dude, because she's a pretty cool chick. Super cool. She's tripping out most of the time. She's cool doing drugs and stuff. She doesn't care.
Yeah, I'd say she's a little high maintenance. I mean, understandable after her parents died, but before that, she seemed a little high maintenance.
Well, not even that, but I mean, I believe that she probably had. I mean, if her sister had bipolar, it's definitely possible that she had a bipolar undiagnosed. So, I mean, if she was high maintenance, it's definitely possible that she was undiagnosed, and that's part of that, which is, I mean, horrible in itself. But yeah, and Jack, he goes over there, and and he kind of tries to confirm, but now we see he's stuck in this position where it's like, oh my God, he's gonna have to marry her.
Yeah, he's going to have to.
He's gonna have to die with this chick.
Oh,
no.
by the way, your sister killed your parents, then committed suicide. This relationship
This might be a
really
tough time, but I met someone else.
Yeah.
I don't want to add on to the pain, but
I definitely need to at this point.
Well, and it's this thing where she has no one now. So he's the only
human that has any connection towards her.
Which is a horror movie in itself.
It is.
Just the fact that you're stuck. I mean, that's the nightmare position to be in. I mean, it's that whole thing where maybe he should have broken up with her a long time ago. He was kind of leading her on and whatnot. He should have broken up with her. I mean, that's the life lesson in this. If you think you got to break up with someone,
break up with them.
Do not fucking keep them going, because you will end up, spoiler alert, burning alive into a giant bear costume.
This is true. Yeah,
we've seen it a million times.
A million times. And that's one of the areas where I was like, wow, really went down that road? I've seen this a million times in film.
I know,
bear costume getting burned alive. Very strange
typical,
choice.
So typical. Yeah. But and this is again what I think was so impressive about this. This is Ari Aster's second film, but it felt very different from Hereditary. Where I definitely was going into this thinking, okay, this is going to be another Hereditary. It's going to be very scary and for that entire thing, but it felt like a completely different tone. It even had some funny parts.
Right, and I felt the overall tone of each movie was completely different. Hereditary was very dark. If you notice, a lot of the sequences in that movie were in the nighttime, and it was very dark. The house was dimly lit. Even at the dinner room table, do you remember the dinner room table scenes? Where it's like, there's hardly any light in the house, and it's just the light over the kitchen, or over the table. Here it's like everything's bright, pretty, you get pretty lights, even cinematography wise, like it looked completely different.
It's very different. And the tones are, I think, completely different. Although both of them are definitely about loss and tragedy and whatnot. It's the tones where Hereditary it's just fucking somber the entire time. Oh, God. There's not a scene where you're like, this family's gonna be all right.
Yeah, no.
In this, even though this starts out the worst possible way that any movie could start out, with just how frightening it is and whatnot, from there it builds up where it's like you're starting to think, even though you know where it's going, the first half is like, this is cool. I mean, it looks like she's healing. I mean, it looks like she's actually, this is good for her, but then it goes for a turn.
Yeah,
but
and I love those scenes too after the fact where Jack's like, his name's not Jack. His name's Jack,
Christian.
Christian in the film, Jack Raynor, but he's telling his friends up there. He goes, "No, I told her she can come, but she's not coming."
Oh yeah, she's definitely not.
She's
coming.
Definitely coming.
She's definitely
She's definitely coming. And then she's like, "Yeah, I'm going." He's like, "Can I talk to you real quick?"
Well, we find out that Christian and all his friends, they've been planning a trip to Sweden because one of their other friends is from Sweden. And he wants to take him to his hometown, in a little town north of Stockholm, and it's some big. It's some big. I can't. Does it celebrate? It celebrates the start of summer.
Yes.
So it's a big festival that celebrates the start of summer, and they have this planned even before Danny's parents die. But again, Christian didn't tell Danny about any of this.
No,
which again kind of shows how he was kind of a shitty person.
Yeah, because that's 6 weeks. That's 6 weeks going, and you didn't even tell her. He's like, "Well, I told you I wanted to go." It's like, okay, telling someone you wanted to go and telling someone that I am going are two completely different things.
That's the thing, and that's the thing that kind of builds up upon where it's like he was shitty, and it's almost like everything that Danny was saying made sense, right? Mm-hmm. She was like, "Well, you just could have told me," because at some point after a few months after her parents, because her parents die in winter. Yeah. Then it turns spring, and then they're kind of talking about it, and they kind of go to a party, and she finally finds out that they're going, or that he's going.
That he's going.
In the middle of a party too.
Yeah, that's kind of awkward. If you're
the girlfriend,
shitty thing.
Yeah, it's a shitty thing to do.
Yeah, find out for sure.
And he's like, but he says he's not going during the party. He's like, yeah, we're thinking about it, but he's like, I'm not going.
But then when they get home, he's like, no, I decided today that I was going. I didn't hold it from you.
And then it shows how Danny is just 100% dependent on Christian now.
Yes.
Right? Like she can't, we're at a point where maybe she was a little attached even before, just naturally, where now she can't even, she can't be alone at all. She can't be without him.
That is the only person in her life anymore.
Yeah.
Her whole family's dead.
Exactly, yeah. So there's no one left. So once he leaves, she has absolutely nothing. I think it's all downhill from there. But he eventually ends up like backhanding, like trying kind of like, all right, you can come if you want. Like, I mean, just an obvious thing that he never expected her to actually go.
No, he didn't.
And Danny
And
says,
he told
"Oh,
all of
fuck
his
yeah."
friends that before she came up. He's like, man, I invited her, but she's not going to come. Just say she can, but she's not going to come. And they're like, oh, okay.
And this whole time building it up, it's showing like pictures and art in the background where you're not sure. I mean, seeing it first, you have no idea where it's going to go or not. But showing pictures of like a blonde girl crowned with a bear and stuff like that. But by the second time, I mean, it's all building up to things.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of her friends meet, and he ends up telling, Christian ends up telling all of his friends who, one of his friends, played by Will Poulter, who's in a ton of stuff, was going to be Pennywise in the original But, yeah, he's telling all of his friends that she's going to go and whatnot, and everyone's fine with it but his friend Will Poulter, who's just a jackass, he plays a very, very good, annoying character in this.
He does.
God,
he does a good job at that,
He was so annoying. The entire time he was just, I mean...
Well, he plays a lot of annoying kind of characters, though.
Yeah, well, look at those eyebrows, man.
Have you seen Detroit? He plays a fucking prick in
I
that.
didn't see Detroit, and I heard he was good. Jack Raynor's in Detroit.
Detroit's great.
Yeah.
It's such a good movie. But, I mean, dude, he plays an asshole in that. I wanted to smack him.
He's been in he was in The Revenant, too, remember?
Yeah. He's a great actor.
He's a great actor. But not a great guy in this.
No.
He has, like, no sympathy at all. Even, I mean, he did not like Danny before her parents died, and he dislikes her just as much after her parents died. I mean, he shows no compassion.
No sympathy. None.
And he's a character that's just, I mean, right at the bat, that something bad's going to happen to him.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And you're not that upset about it. At least I wasn't.
No, I wasn't. I was a little disturbed.
I knew it was
going to
happen.
What happened to him?
Because it wasn't where, like, he wasn't just a dick, but he was just, like, an idiot. He was a moron. He had no, like, concept of other people or anything. And the way he tucked his pants into his socks.
Well, and we really got that after the ceremony with the
exactly.
man and woman. He's like, wow, the one thing you didn't invite me to? Or the one thing you didn't wake me up for?
Oh, I think you're going to talk about the when he pees on the tree.
Well, that too.
Because then he doesn't even apologize during that scene.
No, he's like, what? I didn't know. It's like, at least apologize.
The whole time,
that's all you have to do.
I would immediately, you pee on a 10,000-year-old tree that's probably got all kinds of witchcraft magic in it. Immediately, I'd be like, I'm sorry. Immediately
I didn't mean to. Yeah, like, I'm trying to, let me right my wrongs. He doesn't even apologize one time.
No, not a single
time.
time.
What? I didn't know.
I know, he's like blaming the tree.
Yeah.
Like, who put that tree there? Who put
this fucking tree there? I was trying to take a piss. That one guy, though, was not happy. The man yelling at him.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I don't blame the guy. And that's another thing about, we'll get into all the deaths and all the gruesome deaths, but most of the deaths in this were like, they died for a reason. I mean, they died because they kind of had it coming.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
they broke the rules in one way or another.
And again, that's what kind of was something that was so different from Hereditary, where Hereditary, anyone could die. The fucking dad burst into flames just randomly, and that kind of set the tone where it's like, oh, no one's safe.
No.
In this, everyone dies that you kind of almost expect to die. Except for maybe the British couple who kind of just got the bad end of the deal.
You got to feel bad for those people. They didn't see that coming.
You never do. You get invited to a cool festival. You think it's like a Swedish Coachella. Everyone's going to be rolling on Molly and everything. And it's something very different. Although there is a lot of drugs in this, which is pretty fucking dope for a cool family like get together.
It is, yeah.
Can you imagine going to your reunion and some guy starts handing your uncles
mushrooms, psilocybin? Yeah.
After this film, though, I'm out of it. In a family get together, I'd rather trip on myself in the forest or something.
Yeah.
I do not want. Because at the start, so they go and they all meet up and they're all kind of pissed off about her coming or not, except for the Swedish kid whose family he's inviting him to.
Yes.
He's really cool about it.
Well, because he's like, cool, another sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well,
she doesn't.
Isn't true. Yeah.
But but I never got the sense that he was, I mean, I knew that he probably thought that these other Americans were going to die, but I really felt that he was just compassionate to her because his family did really die.
Well, yeah, no, he wanted her. He wanted her in a relationship, and he made that very clear in the beginning of the movie to say that Christian was not good for her. And then he kissed her later on, remember?
Yeah, that's way later, though. That's way later, yeah. Well, at the start, though, he does do, I mean, he's very compassionate about it. He's the only one that talks about her family or asks about her family. That scared the shit out of me. But yeah, so he goes and he asks her about, or he kind of brings up her family, and she immediately starts breaking down and starts crying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's the only one. He's definitely the nicest one. And we meet the other friends too. There's one other guy who is it Josh? Yeah, Josh, who's played by William, and he's like, they're all in like college or something. They're all doing their doctorates or something. And he's doing his doctorate on like ancient traditions, right? So he's going there for just to like do some research and stuff, shit like that.
Well, they're both anthropologists.
Yeah, but they tell us that Christian, Jack Rayner's character, he doesn't know what he's going to do
For his
thesis
on.
yeah.
Yeah. So they end up splitting it.
Yeah, later, yeah.
But it doesn't matter
don't wanna do
because
that,
then neither one of them writing those theses. They're not completing those, pal.
Yeah, and that's why the family was like, or the cultists are like,
Yeah,
yeah, do whatever you
Go
want.
ahead, take pictures. I don't care because you're not going to see that phone in
I know.
48 hours, kid.
Do whatever the hell you
As a matter
want.
of
You
fact,
guys
won't
are
see
good.
shit in
Yeah.
48 hours. You'll be dead.
So eventually it gets to the time and they travel to Sweden. We see it's another cool scene, and I love the editing of this, where she goes in the bathroom and then she's in the bathroom on the plane.
Uh-huh.
I like
That
that
was
quick
cool.
editing,
Yep.
and she's breaking down,
Breaking
crying,
down
of
both
course.
times. Yeah.
And the entire time, at least I got the sense where it's like she hasn't been able to talk with anyone about this. I mean, who's she going to talk to?
I mean, her boyfriend, Christian.
And you could tell that he was not interested.
Yeah,
I mean, in
but I
talking about it.
guarantee he talked her through it at least once or twice.
I do, but I guarantee they didn't talk about it enough. I mean, not nearly enough. She looks like she's obviously
In a bad state.
and he never gives off the sense that he wants to like talk about this or anything like that.
Kinda
Or
putting
that
it
he's
off.
trying, yeah. So they travel there, and how do you like the shot of them traveling with the car? Did you
Loved it.
I knew
And
you
was
would.
thinking,
That's-
how can I replicate this
I know, that's
someday?
what-
Yeah. I love the way that was shot, and you were so right with the portal, like your take
Don't you
on the
think-
portal. It
didn't
was
you agree?
very,
Yeah, that's
very
immediately,
much
yeah.
so, where it was like, it was this transition into this new world.
this fucking underworld.
Favorite
or something.
shot of the
That's
whole
where,
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going, and what the shot we're talking about is they're driving the car, and then the camera flips 360.
And
without
180 upside down.
180, yeah, and
upside
without telling you anything, it feels like they're going into like this hell, this underworld where they're making the journey through the gates or whatever, and it does such a good job of translating that.
It does.
Without actually fucking giving a giant sign like "Welcome to fucking hell" or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's awesome, yeah. So they go and they stop at one spot, and it's like it's a pre-stop or something like that. They're stopping there before because they have to hike or something to the.
Yeah, like miles and miles to Midsommar, wherever the Swedish town is.
And again, even that hike is kind of them getting to that fucking place because it's like it's middle of the forest, but then it just opens up and it's this perfect fucking
It's beautiful,
city town
yeah.
out in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, they go and they meet who's the Swedish kid? What's the Swedish kid's name in this?
It is Pelle. P-E-L-L-E.
Yeah, don't they call him Pele?
Pele.
Yeah, they call him Pele in it. Well, they go and they meet some of his family because at this pre-spot before they go and the hike, they're going to stay there one day, camp a day, then they're going to hike to the actual town. They go, they start taking mushrooms right at the start. Good sign.
Great sign.
It's a good sign.
Great sign. It sounds like we're having fun.
It's a good sign. And she's
And
Danny.
I like that scene. Yeah, that scene with Danny.
Danny's a little hesitant.
She wanted to get her footing before she took drugs.
Yeah, which is, I mean, you can't blame her. Her parents
guess.
died 3 months ago.
Yeah.
You can't blame
Now you're gonna ask her to do
Give her-
psychedelics.
Yeah, I know this is going to end in one
It could
way. It's going to
probably
be a
turn
bad
bad,
trip.
yeah.
I mean, what are the odds it doesn't? You got some heavy baggage, and usually you're not supposed to have any kind of baggage when you're going.
When you're
tripping.
when you're tripping on things. No.
But it does such a well job of showing what it's like to be tripping on a psychedelic or something. I mean, it's crazy how well he actually did it, where it's not disorienting at all. You would think that maybe showing it would make you sick, because the background and everything's moving.
Everything's just moving all the time.
And not only that, but the faces. Well, we don't get it at this scene, but later on we get it where the faces
I love
start
it.
to
They
disorient
start to
and stuff like that.
and the
Yeah,
eyeballs start to separate from each other. The mouth starts to drop down.
and it's not
up.
super like obvious that's happening.
It's not. It's
something
very
very
subtle.
slow where it's just like where it's something you would see and be like, that guy just looks slightly off. Like
Yeah.
his eyes just slightly
lower than the other
drooping
one.
down.
Well, and you really have to pay attention to the subtleties of
Oh,
the way
yeah.
this is shot, because like even when she's wearing the headdress, you see the black hole inside the flower get larger and then smaller.
Well, it wasn't
know?
that, but it was all the flowers were.
Yeah.
It made it
all the
seem
flowers
like
are moving, but I just
everything.
mean that one specifically.
It made it seem like everything was breathing and everything was alive.
Everything was
and that was
alive.
kind of the whole thing where they were like everything's connecting. Because remember, she takes right at this part, she takes the mushrooms and she looked down
She
her
looks
hand,
down,
and the grass is going through her hand, like
and then
she's
that
starting
scene later on too with their feet.
to. Yeah, like she's starting to connect with all the land and everything. That's what's doing. So they take mushrooms, and it doesn't. It
It's
doesn't.
not a good first trip for her.
It's not a good first
Panicky
trip
first trip.
at all, because doesn't she end up running to the little hut thing?
Mm-hmm.
She runs to the hut. It's pitch dark. There's definitely someone standing behind her during this scene.
There is.
And then she turns around, and there's another someone in the mirror. And it's one of those things that, again, happens for 0.2 seconds. And it's something where in any other horror movie, it would have been done with fucking a string bass. You would have been knowing the exact thing was going to happen. You would have known it was going to come. And they would have shown that guy for 5 seconds. And then she would have turned around, and he was gone. And it was the kind of thing where she turned around, he was gone. And there's another fucking thing.
Yeah, there was another thing there too.
Which is a bad trip.
Yeah, terrible trip.
Well, she runs out of that little hut thing, and she ends up just going deeper and deeper into the forest, kind of. And eventually, someone catches up with her.
6 hours later, they found her in that field.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, what time is it?" And that's kind of where the whole time thing comes into play.
And even though it's something bad did happen to her, at this part, you're thinking it's everyone's just super cool, and it's just the mood is super chill.
Yeah.
That's all that's happening.
Everyone's just having
And
a
you're
good
thinking
time.
that even though it's not, it doesn't, because the people are so, like the guy he introduces, his brother or whatever, it's just the nicest guy in the world. But it doesn't seem fake. Like even when
No, it just seems like they're nice people out there in the middle of nowhere, and they have no reason to be mean to anyone because they have no
and even
outlook on anything
even though
else.
Pele was tricking them the entire time you get the sense that he did actually care
about them.
care about all of them.
Yeah.
And even the people that he came to trick. I mean, he just knew that it kind of had to happen. Because earlier we've had to mention that he said that because when he's explaining it to Danny, because Danny wants to know what it's kind of all about, he explains it only happens every 90 years.
Yeah.
So it's a big event, and he says it's really cool, and everyone's chill and whatnot. But so she has bad hallucinations. Oh, and she sees her dead sister also when she's tripping out during this scene.
Yes.
And so tensions rise after Pele brings them to. Oh no, we gotta talk about it. Eventually they go and they hike and they find the fucking city. And I was actually laughing when they came upon the city, and it was so beautiful, and all the guys are playing flutes. It was just so funny to me. I was dying because, like, imagine walking into that. You'd be like, "This isn't.
This
real
is not
life.
a real life. No, this is like this has got to be a setup for something."
So funny. They're all playing little flute, and it's so perfect. And it's like, yeah,
and they're walking through that archway, the sun archway as well.
and the sun just coming down, and everyone's greeting them. They're all wearing. It looks like you're in heaven. Like
It
you're
does.
literally in. Like if you would have to imagine what heaven looked like, I would imagine everyone's playing harps and they're doing flutes. Everyone's giving you mushrooms. But yeah, so they come on it. And it's a sweet town. I mean, it's not really a town. It's definitely it's a compound.
Yeah, it's its own community. Its
Yeah.
own.
And I love this is something that I caught right at the start, and I haven't heard anyone say anything. But when because Jack at one point he asks like how do they make money or whatever, and he asked Pele how they make money and everything. Well, he's like, yeah, we do. He's like, we sell. What do you say? He said we sell like holistic medicines and like. They knit and stuff, and then he's like, "Oh, and there's a water plant or something that we get money from, like just randomly."
Yeah.
Like it was like we sell blankets and beads and a water electric plant that runs the entire town. So these guys are probably millionaires. They're probably all Swedish billionaires or something, because it's like that's something that definitely random. I would want to go back and watch again, because he just randomly like drops that down. Like they also have a giant water treatment plant that gives Sweden electricity. Probably big time.
Probably big money there.
Yeah, they gotta be. But yeah, so they go in this town and they kind of meet everyone. And this is something else I caught is when they're welcoming everyone in, the main old guy, whatever his name is, he's the elder or whatnot. He's welcoming, he says welcome, and then to Danny he says welcome home. And he tells her, and that was the only thing. He's the only one that he said welcome home to her. So that immediately kind of gave it away. Yeah.
Right.
So they go and right off the bat, or they kind of settle in, whatnot. They're going. They're living in this cool. Where they're living is this cool kind of. It's this giant house.
And it's the second level, right? So it's like from age 13 to 36.
Yeah,
Something like that.
And yep,
Because that's the house that they're living in.
Because the guy kind of explains how the whole thing kind of works.
It's the 4 cycles of life: winter, fall, spring, summer.
The 4 seasons.
4 seasons. What did I say? My bad.
Cycles.
But yeah, 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Of.
So he says your first 18 years you're just a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever the hell you want, really. I mean, you're living in the fucking compound until you're 18. But you're just a kid, you don't have any responsibilities or whatever. And then 18 to 36, because it's 18-year cycles.
Yes.
18 to 36, you go to school for 18 years straight. But you learn also when you're in that little kid's age.
Yeah.
You learn the basics. But then just 18 to 36, it's just schooling, which is awesome, I think.
Is it schooling 18 to 36, or is that 36 to 54? Because then you become an elder from 54 to 72.
It's schooling 18 to 36 because 30.
And then they go into the workforce.
36 to 54 is workforce.
Okay.
Then 54 to 72, you're an elder.
And that would make sense. Get your education before you go.
Get your education,
work.
then you work for 20 years, which is smart. Then you retire.
And then you retire for 20
years. You go work
become
at
an
the
elder.
fucking electric plant or whatever, probably making... Because you got to think they are 18 years of just school.
It's crazy. That's a long time.
And that's after your 18 years of growing up. That's a long time for schooling. So they're just raking in the knowledge. It's got to be the fucking the IQ of this.
Yeah.
Which again is kind of scary.
It is.
And how they act right at the start, how they're acting like a hive mind. Where it's like they all immediately know before even telling each other. They all like get up at the exact same time. Like right at the start when they coming in there, you kind of get that sense where they're all
we
connected.
see that at the dinner scene.
We definitely see that dinner scene when they're all like, they don't have to talk at all. They know when to eat. They know when to stand. They know when to do everything. So they go and it shows where they're staying. And they're staying in this giant like kind of grand room where it has a bunch of beds. Everyone's staying in there. Well, it says that's where the kids stay, right?
Yeah. And that's why we hear babies crying all the time.
Yeah, and we find out that they're fucking making those babies cry for some reason.
Weird.
They put the scissors under there and they make them go crazy or something. I got a theory to why that reason is. I'll go into it at the end, though. But, yeah, so it shows that, and the next day they're invited to the first of the festivities, right?
Yep.
And that's the very start of that, yeah. And it's they have a dinner, and they wheel out these old people.
Yeah, and it was sweet at the time. I'm like, oh, this is nice.
I knew
the guest of honor.
immediately that something was wrong with those people.
Yeah.
Those two guys. I mean, because they wheel them out like... Well, they wheel them out like there's something special about them, right? I mean, like they're the main
I knew
attraction.
they would be sacrificed. I just didn't know to what extent it would be. And you know what I mean?
Before this, when they're asking Pele how it all works, she asks him, she's like, oh, well, what do they do after 72? And he's like, oh, well... And they're like, oh, Pele, you're crazy, Pele.
You're a funny guy.
Pele,
I love that Swedish humor. It's
you gotta
real
love
funny.
that dry Swedish
God
humor.
dang.
So good, just so good. Oh, what a sweetheart that Pele boy is.
Well, but then Pele tells him that there's that Asta-tupa ritual.
Yeah.
Right? And that in the guy what's his name? Chidi, which is Josh. He tells Josh, and Josh knows what it is.
Because Josh is the guy who's studying.
Anyone. Yeah, but he didn't tell anyone else what the ritual was.
Yeah.
So Josh already knew what that ritual was.
Yeah.
Going into it. And I'm very shocked he didn't warn any of his friends.
Well, again, I think, for one, Pele didn't tell him, so maybe he thought that, like, okay, well, if he's not going to tell him, maybe I shouldn't tell him, because maybe he wants, but again, I would have at least told Danny. Danny seems like one that should not have been invited.
No, I think she should have been the one sleeping, and then you wake up dipshit.
But again, it was a thing where I think for some reason, I didn't think they wanted them to know what it was. Well, I think they would have left.
Yeah, it's a shock of it all.
It's a shock for sure, yeah. I think they would have all left if they found out, which... I mean, it is a crazy, crazy tradition, but you see where they're coming from. That was the problem with this movie.
Your life is over.
That was the problem with this movie. No matter
old.
how fucked it was, everything that happened, you're like, okay, well, I see it.
I mean, culturally, if I would have showed up to something like that, I would have been like, okay, that's fucked up, but it is their culture. They have the right to do
I would have been. I think, although I can't say because I've never had the experience of what they experience, so I can't say how exactly I react. But I was kind of feeling the same thing. But maybe, I don't know, maybe we're more open-minded than the average person. But I would think
Probably.
I would be very shocked, obviously. But I don't think I'd be upset about it.
No,
I mean, you got to understand that those traditions happen
everywhere in the world.
everywhere.
It-
But I
it
guess
really does.
these characters, a lot of them didn't understand that.
No.
Because not all of them were anthropology majors.
No, and especially when you think you're just going to go to a festival, have a good time at Midsummer, and then people are jumping off cliffs and smashing their own faces in. There's a problem there.
It is a turn. It's a
yeah,
turn for
it's-
sure.
it's
But that's a real ritual.
Especially, it is.
And this movie, and it's unfortunate because I should have looked it up more, but I wanted to know a lot more after this about all those rituals and everything. I know he pulled from I know he pulled a lot of, well, it's Sweden, but he did a lot of the Viking stuff and stuff like that. Because Ari Aster, he's going to do his research on this stuff. So it all comes from
Yep.
somewhere.
It's all historically accurate.
And it's so cool because that fucking room that they sleep in, it's so detailed.
Very
and they
detailed.
did all those paintings just for the movie. And 98% of those paintings, you don't see any of them up.
No.
But every single one of them had some kind of contribute.
And they would show them sporadically throughout.
Yeah.
And which
Oh,
would make
yeah.
it cool, like the girl with the slit wrists,
Yes.
stuff like that. They showed those.
Well,
little
right at
clips.
the start, it shows the girl who just got her menstrual cycle. Because marriage shows,
Yeah.
shows the girl and it shows that she puts her pubes.
Well, no, that was from the pan, from that story arch outside of the building.
Oh, that's at
remember?
the very start. I
Yeah.
forgot that
when
was
they
very.
get there.
That was
That was
very well shot
creepy.
too. That long tracking shot of
Mhm.
everything in the background, and everything. And we got to talk about the funniest part.
It's supposed to be like a love potion. So like
Yeah.
the girls cut their pubic hair,
but it kind of
then-
told the whole story.
Yeah.
I mean, it told the entire
told the
goddamn
whole story of what
yeah.
was about to take
Yeah.
place.
And but we've got the funniest part, and I was dying, is when they're all getting ready, and the girl walks in, and she's like, "It's so," because again, you think it's gonna be so tense, and the girl from the village walks in, and she's like, "The kids are going to watch Austin Powers."
Yeah.
You know,
That was hilarious, and that was the only time I think the theater laughed.
I was like, "What the
Yeah, I was
fuck?
like,
Like,
Austin
how could you put
Powers?
that in this?" Yeah, like what a bizarre. But there were some funny parts where I wasn't laughing because how fucked up they were. I was laughing because I felt like he put them in there to be funny, which is something he did not do in Hereditary at all.
No, there was no
There was
funny
no
moments.
comedy
None.
relief
Zero.
at all in Hereditary.
Zero. Yeah.
But yeah, so they go to this dinner. They wheel out these old people. The dinner's kind of weird because no one's talking or anything, and they're all like frozen in place. They wheel out these people, and they show this far away building that no one's
The
allowed to go in.
yellow-
This big yellow.
Yellow triangle building.
Yeah, and that's where they wheel out these old people from too.
Mhm. And then it was Jack or someone asked him. They go, "What is that?" And they go, "That's a sacred temple. You're not allowed in."
Yeah, no one's allowed in there, right? And before,
But eventually, all of them are in there.
yeah, they do all end up in there eventually.
So maybe that was a lie, a little bit.
And we're also introduced before this to an English couple that Pele's brother brought also. That was his outsiders he brought too. So they go, they're having this dinner. The two elders, they eventually they pick them up from their chairs, right? And they travel or they take them somewhere else. Everyone starts eating and whatnot. And then the party just keeps going.
They do that weird thing before they eat, though, where they're like,
Yeah, it was the Viking.
Yeah.
Well, this thing is heavy on fucking runes. We gotta say that runes everything. The markings of
Oh, yes.
the ancient. I mean,
Right.
they're everywhere. And they're
on stones.
they're
on-
definitely meant to portray a story and everything because I know that but it's not even that because once in a while they'll have like even stuff that's not even written, it'll be like random, like the bodies will be placed in like a rune kind of esque way or something like that. But yeah, it's heavy on runes, definitely heavy on shit like that. But they move the party, they're done eating, they move the party cliffside in like a little quarry kind of thing. And again, you're not going, what's going on here?
No.
Then you start seeing the old couple, and it's cool how they did it because the old couple, they look kind of scared.
Yeah,
Even
they
at the
do a
dinner
little bit,
table, they
yeah.
look kind of frightened. They know even though they're not gonna go against it or whatever, but obviously it's natural to
It's
fear some
natural
kind
to
of
fear
Yeah.
death. Yeah.
So they walk them out. They walk first the lady out to the cliff. And then we obviously know what's going to happen. Immediately, I think everything starts connecting.
And everyone's down below in a very, like, they're all lined up. They're all doing the same kind of chant thing. And it's very weird.
And all the Americans and the English people and the outsiders, they're all just like frozen.
Yeah, and they still just have no idea what's going to take place.
I just don't think they can believe it. I just don't think you can kind of put those two and two things together. Like you're about to actually see a ritual.
You're going to witness, yeah.
You know, it's not normal. It's not something we get a lot of in America.
No, I would say not too many suicidal ritualistic activities we partake in.
The old lady, she walks out, and you know, because it's an Ari Aster movie, you know he's going to show you everything.
And real, too.
Yes,
and that's
what
what
I
hate.
assume.
That's what, no, that's what I love about Ari Aster, but that's what I hate about film.
Oh,
is when people fall from hundreds of feet.
And they just splat.
And they're just a
jelly.
little blood.
Yeah, Or they just completely explode.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I know they had to do this because it's Avengers Endgame or Avengers Infinity Wars. But when Gamora falls, Gamora falls, and she's just like laying there with
it would be just
blood on her mouth. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This is real, though.
Well, we showed, and it got real fucking real when the old guy jumps, because he tries to stick the landing.
Oh, I don't know what he was thinking there, my guy. This is not a good idea. You always go face first.
It's tough, though. It's tough to get your body to dive face first to a cliff.
And it's also tough to follow up when you're looking down and you see
your wife
who's smashed to bits, her face. That was awesome, though. We got to talk about that. As soon as she jumps,
brutal, man.
Boom, smacks a rock.
Yeah.
And Ari Aster does not shy away from showing you exactly how that.
And this one, he shows a lot. He keeps coming back to it.
I did not tell you this before the podcast or anything because this is so crazy that you're literally not going to believe it, and that's okay. But I had someone with me to testify. A man ran because we're in the movie parlor, right? So there's only 20 seats, and then they have the garbage cans literally right outside the door because there's only 3 theaters for the top part. For
the movie parlor for this?
Oh fuck yeah, dude! And because it was like 10:45 at night, and it was movie parlor. But the guy ran out, and I swear to you, he was puking in the garbage cans right outside the door.
I don't doubt it. Yeah,
I like puking, like legitimately puke.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt it.
I could not believe it. He didn't come back.
I only had 2 other people in my theater.
Yeah. And he came back in and he told his friend that was the most because he's sitting right next to us. He's like, that's the most fucked up thing I've ever seen in my life. His friend's laughing at him. He left again for 20 minutes. This guy was barely even in the movie. He couldn't handle it.
Well, I'm surprised he came back.
Well, he did come back.
That's the odd thing. The fact that he came back, I mean, you're going to see more. It's not going to be a one-time scene.
No, it's not a one and done. Not with this movie, my friend.
So I'm really, because I've been at theaters where people walked out, but I've never been there where they walk out and come back in.
Yeah.
Because I've been like,
He missed over half the movie because he just kept leaving. And I'm like, man.
Well, yeah.
It's one of those things, though, where his friend, and it's 10:45, so it was like midnight, so the mall's not open.
Yeah.
He can't go walk around. He's got to wait for his fucking friend, who's definitely not going to leave him.
Oh, fuck no. Yeah.
You know, he's going to stay and watch the movie. So I think that's kind of what he was doing. His friend was poking shit at him.
I would have went to another movie, man. I mean, yeah. But it's one of those.
It already started, though. Because it was late at night. It was like 11:30 by the time that happened.
I know, but go fucking watch the last half of fucking Lighthearted.
Stuber or something that's out. Something a little fun.
A kid's movie or something. Something that's going to fucking
not. Toy Story 4.
Because it's true, man. I mean, it is, this scene, it's true, though. If you have any kind of, like, you don't like, I mean, because people don't even like movie gore. I mean, they don't like ridiculous amounts of movie fakeness. I mean, this is as real. It's not gory. It's not like she explodes in the blood. She just gets smashed up.
But it's
real
very
bad.
realistic. Like
very realistic.
When you look at like bodies that jump from high places, this is what they look like.
Exactly. Have you ever been on like a live leak or best gore or something like that? You see it. That's
dude. Best gore. I didn't know what the fuck that was when I was a kid.
What do you think it was?
Well. Now, I know what it is now, but 15, 16 years old,
Best
I went on that.
Gore, though?
Yeah, that's true. I guess, I probably should have put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
But, you don't ever think that people actually record real death. You know
they're
what
not.
I'm saying?
Most of the time, it's not them recording. It's just being recorded because we have so many recording devices. It's not some guys come tracking around.
There are a lot of people who recorded death, though.
Yeah.
On their phones. Like those, even like Taliban and stuff, or whatever. Terrorist.
Well, they recorded everything on VHS too. That is what spawned this. I mean, it's called torture porn. Hostels, Saw, that all came from best gore and everything. Because once people start seeing those things,
did you see that famous cartel one with the chainsaw?
No, I don't like beheadings and stuff like that. I don't like going. Even as a kid, I wasn't a big fan of best gore and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I don't have a real problem with like stomaching it, but it's not something that
It's not something you want to watch.
it kind of it's something that makes me feel kind of bad.
Yeah.
I mean, just for the people. Some people can watch that shit and be like, "Fuck yeah, man, this is metal as hell," and just kind of enjoy it. But because I mean they're very popular sites. Someone's watching it. Someone's going on there.
Yeah, there are a lot
frequently.
of people who watch it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is honestly what I felt like I was watching, like a fucking handy cam, like some guy just recorded some old lady jump off a goddamn cliff. They zoom in on the face, and they leave her body there. So when the old guy comes around to jump, he's
like,
a little more.
I don't have any more room. He goes, I'm just gonna go feet
Yeah,
first.
can
see how
someone
this
move
works."
her out of the way? Yeah, like, she's in my spot because you want to land on what. Because how she lands, she hits the one fucking rock that I thought they were supposed to hit.
That's what I thought. I thought it was like ritual to hit.
But
the
now
rock.
I think it was just they couldn't move it. It's too heavy. Because he doesn't hit the rock.
No, he doesn't.
He misses quite a bit.
And he jumps feet first, like he's jumping into a fucking pool.
And it's exactly how you would imagine someone jumping feet were like a cartoon. Like their legs come up through their legs and it's the bone. Because he's fine, honestly. He's crying at the bottom. He's freaking
But
out.
man, as soon as you see his face, his eyes are fucking red. There's blood. And that's true too. Because like the shock of your body would do that. I mean, when you hit a ground like that and your legs are shattered, that's exactly how a body reacts to something like that, man. That's fucking.
And how they shot it
hardcore.
with the sound design, when they fall, it's dead silent, and you just hear the fucking. And it's not like a boom or something. It's just a thud, like a sack of potatoes hitting the fucking floor or something.
That's rough.
So the old man doesn't die, and that now we got a whole nother tradition.
And then and then you hear everyone wailing. They're doing
wailing, and again, like they're all connected, and they're all feeling this pain that this
And
guy
again,
is going
hive
through
mentality.
too. Yeah, and you could tell they don't want him to feel this pain.
No, they're
That's
not
not the
psychos
intention.
Like that,
They
no.
don't. Yeah, they're not enjoying him getting hurt.
And you know what? I saw that hammer before, and I go,
Oh, yeah.
that's going to be come into play.
The hammer does,
somehow.
and the hammer comes back after
It
this.
does.
Too. That hammer's probably seen some things.
It's seen some.
You gotta
death.
think that thing's probably 8,000 years old.
Yeah.
It's been soaked in blood.
And I found it so and this was one of those. It was such a fucked up scene that it should not be funny, and I feel terrible for even saying it's funny. But when the man, which this part's not funny, but when the man's suffering there, you're like, oh my god, this is horrible. And then 4 people walk over there.
It is. It's one of those
and
things
crush
where
his skull, and I'm like, I started kind of laughing, and I looked
Same.
over, I'm like, better safe than sorry.
oh yeah.
And
Well,
I'm like, man, that was
yeah.
really fucked me to say because that's disgusting. But in the same point, it's like his skull was smashed.
I'm the
in.
kind of person that if I see something very ridiculous and crazy, I laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just maybe it's a defense mechanism or something.
Something.
But it's when something is so just something that you're so unused to seeing, you just kind of gotta laugh. Because you're right. They come over the hammer, take one big swing, and it's again very realistic. It just kind of bashes his face
skull
in.
in. Yeah, so
And
you
it's-
know he's dead,
Well, not the first time. I mean, the first time he might have been still kicking a little
but
bit.
unconscious at least.
Yeah, well, at least, I mean, it really just kind of fucks him up even more. I mean, you really want to make sure you die on that drop because you don't want the hammer.
If if I have to jump off a cliff, I'm going.
You
head
don't want the
first. I
hammer.
don't want it. No.
So one guy smashes, then a girl, they pass the hammer back. She gives a smash. He's definitely dead at this
Definitely
point.
dead.
It's just mush. Then another guy gets a smash just to make sure that thing is. I mean, there's no way. I don't even know why, but it's tradition.
Yep.
And who are
You
we?
got to follow tradition.
Who are we to follow? 4 hits is it. You take 4 hits. Maybe, tradition. Tradition comes from. It comes from a reason. So maybe there was one guy who fell and they just couldn't fucking kill him. And they just kept hitting with a hammer. And they're like, we got to at least
This
make
guy
it
gonna
4.
Die? Maybe we should up
Like by the
age to
third time, he's
78.
crushed and the guy's walking away. He's like, okay, guys, we're good. And they're all walking away. And then you hear, oh my God.
Toughest fucking guy I've ever come across. I got to put this guy out of his misery soon.
And they're like, okay, for now on, 4 minimum. We do a 4 minimum. We are not making that
matter
mistake
what.
again. And we are not making that mistake. Tough bastards, though.
Yes, they are.
And then we didn't even get it, but Danny starts freaking out, obviously. And it's the freak out where it's just like the air is sucked out of the fucking world.
And you got to
she
remember, they're
starts-
tripping at this point, too. They're on drugs.
They're tripping the whole goddamn
'cause they
time. There's
drank
not a
the-
lot of
yeah.
time when they're not tripping. But yeah, Jack tries to. I mean, even after the first one, she probably should have looked away. But again, they were all in shock, and it happened relatively quick.
It did.
But and then she watched the guy get his face smashed. Again, Danny, look away.
Just look away. You
Make
don't
the-
have to watch. It already traumatized
And
him
if Jack, immediately my thought was if I was Jack standing right next to her, Christian,
I would have covered her eyes.
I would
or brought her
immediately
away.
put my body in front of her to where we're both not looking at it, where
Yeah.
she's looking at me and I'm looking away. But no, he's
intrigued.
He forgets she's there
Yeah,
half the
yeah.
time.
He's not, at this point, he's like, I don't care.
He's like, I'm on my own vacation. She can do whatever. I didn't want her in the first place. And but yeah, he tries to console her, and it doesn't really work.
No.
Because he's not really freaking out. I mean, he's scared, but he kind of says
it's tradition.
And
yeah.
he's an anthropology major also, so maybe he knows a little something about it. But it's English people who are not fans.
Not at all. They want to leave immediately. They're hysterical. They're freaking out. And the one lady in Swedish asked Pele, he's like, did you not tell them about this?
The head lady.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know what her job is, but she's got her own little
She's got
house.
a big responsibility.
Yeah, and again, it's that thing where it's like they were completely comforting, where she was apologizing and everything. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. He was supposed to tell you and everything, which of course I don't think he was supposed to.
No, of course not. No.
But he made.
They're definitely good
She
at
really
playing
threw him
the
under the
role,
bus.
though.
She threw.
Pele?
No, it wasn't Pele because it was Pele's brother Igmar.
Oh, Igmar. Yeah.
Igmar brought the English people, but immediately the lady's like, Igmar should have told you, and she threw him on the bus. But yeah, they're freaking out and they want to leave, and they do end up leaving.
Not in the way they wanted to, but they do leave.
They
They
do
leave this earth.
They do. They leave this plane of existence, and yeah. So they're all, and they see the ritual, and despite being disturbed, they decide to stay at the behest of Pele, who's apologizing, and Hagar are the subject of Josh's thesis. So it's multiple reasons why they want to stay. Really, it's kind of that shitty thing where they were thinking about themselves, especially fucking Christian at the end, where he doesn't want to leave because he's doing his district. Yeah. So none of them, they don't want to leave. They convince eventually Pele convinces Danny to leave or to stay.
To stay.
Because Danny's Danny's freaking out. She says she's got to go, and Pele's the only one that ever really consoles her, that ever shows any kind of compassion.
Yeah, he's the only one that really seems to even care about her.
Yeah.
At this point.
Where's Christian at? I mean, why would Christian just not be with her the entire time at this point? I mean,
I don't know.
you can't leave a lady alone. Her parents just died. She just saw 2 old people die. She's tripping on mushrooms. You gotta watch her. We'll have another jumper. So they end up staying. The next day, Simon and Connie disappear, who are the British people. Well, really, Simon ends up leaving early.
And then Connie's freaking out. She's like, "What? He left without me? That doesn't even sound right. Without even telling me, because they're in a relationship. They're boyfriend and girlfriend.
They're getting married.
Yeah, they're engaged. So it's like,
yeah,
it sounds very strange. That would have been a huge red flag.
That would have been a Christian thing,
Yeah.
where if like Christian would want to leave, he would just dip out. I feel
that's
because they're not getting married.
That's what Danny said to him later.
He does,
on.
yeah. Well, that's way later on when she's starting to finally kind of get it all connected and trying to be her own kind of cultist. But yeah, so Simon leaves, and they say they only have one truck, some weird Swedish truck that can only fit 2 people on it.
It's so terrible for transportation.
It's horrible. Yeah. Like everyone's got to hike it. I'm guessing these people just don't leave.
No, they never
do.
do. Yeah.
So he tells, and then Connie's like, he would never fucking leave me. That'd be the weirdest thing in the world. Because she just woke up and he was gone. He didn't even tell her anything.
No.
Red flags. Red flags popping up everywhere. But the group and everyone, though, this is the thing, is everyone knows about the lie. Immediately everyone's in on it. Because remember when they're at the dinner table, she's like, yeah, we don't know what happened. And some lady next to him, she's like, oh, they took me to the train station. Like, what, did they have a fucking town meeting?
Yeah, but
night?
they all just knew.
They all just immediately knew. And they all in on the lie, which, again, it makes you, I mean, it makes you assume that they can't all be lying.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all lying. And
they're very good at it.
They all know what they're thinking, too. And, yeah, and they also, a big thing is they ask him about inbreeding, because they're such a closed-off community. And
that's when we get the incestual troll man. I don't know what the fuck that thing is.
He was the oracle, man. He knew the future, right? He said that... He said because there is a lot of inbreeding, and he said that the elders are all explaining this to Josh, who's doing his thesis, right? or the main elder is explaining
Right,
it.
and they explain the whole cousins thing, that they have grace for that, but the elders have to approve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to, and that's, in my mind, it kind of I'm like, okay, well, that's how they're all so connected, is they probably are all actually related to each other in
Yes.
some way.
It's literally a giant family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they're all this very tight-knit community, both literal and physical.
Physical, yeah.
I mean, because, yeah. But every once in a while, there'll be a bad batch of kids. And then but this guy, they make him the fucking oracle. If you're real fucked up and you get real inbred and you got all kinds of things wrong with you, you're the highest. You're made president.
Yeah, he looked pretty fucked up too.
And then they tells Josh that that's inbreeding on purpose. They purposely do that to make one of those little oracle guys. Because that's kind of their Bible, right? He draws pictures, and then this group of guys, they translate it and they write it into this book. I can't remember what the book's called, but it's this book that they have thousands of these books through the years, right? And they keep translating it, and it's pretty much their Bible. I can't remember, but they have a name for it. They don't call it a Bible.
Yeah, it's something.
So after Connie, or after Simon leaves, then Connie ends up disappearing.
Yeah, she
later,
disappears too.
Yeah.
And they just say she left later.
Yeah, they don't even really give her a
They
lie.
were both taken to the train station kind of thing,
Yeah, and then that kind of calms everyone down. They're like,
Uh-huh.
okay, well, they
They're
just let
okay,
him
they
leave.
just
Yeah,
left,
that's
yeah.
cool. Super cool. But, yeah, and eventually they go, and Christian eventually decides to copy Josh's thesis, which causes all kinds of rifts between their friendship and whatnot. And again, it's a shitty thing for Christian to do.
Yeah, just out of the blue. Oh, by the way, man,
Yeah.
I'm going to
Because
this is going to be my thesis
As
as well.
theses go, you can't have two theses on the same thing. That's
No,
what makes it a thesis.
That's what makes it
Yeah.
a thesis.
I
Exactly.
mean, theses are one and done. You can kind of expand on, but even that, it's something. Yeah. So if you're going to do the same thesis, you have to co-author a thesis, and I don't know that just from natural, but they explain it in this.
Yeah, they do.
And Josh doesn't want to do it at the start because he says that Pele promised him to that he'd be able to do all this and whatnot. And Josh also, his main thing is he wants to get a look at that little Bible, that Swedish Bible. He wants
does.
to peek at that. And Pele makes it clear that no one's allowed to look at that.
Nope.
Eventually, he does get the right to go look at it while the head guy is also in there with him.
Mhm.
And he says, "Can I take a picture?" And
he
the
goes,
guy says, "Fuck
Absolutely
no."
not.
And he says,
Under
"Get the
any
hell
con-
out."
yeah.
Yeah, on a second thought, get the hell out of here. I don't even like you in here. And also, kind of funny thing is that little deformed guy.
Mhm.
He's in that fucking room. He sleeps in that room.
Yeah.
I love later they show him in the corner. He's just got a little tiny bed. Like he's just in there the entire time. And it's just creepy guy. But and it causes a rift between them. Josh attempts to solicit more information from the elder and communes ancient rune practices, which are based on paintings made by the deformed member selectively born ancestrally, whom they consider an oracle. Exactly what I said.
Yep.
After Mark unwittingly urinates on an ancestral tree, that's Mark.
That Mark the asshole.
That's Will Poulter. We haven't talked about him much, but he's been an asshole this entire time.
Yes.
And again, he tucks his pants into his socks because he's so afraid of bugs, and it's just annoying. Immediately,
It
it's
is.
annoying.
Majority of people are not too fond of people like that.
No, and he goes and he pees on.
An ancient tree.
Not even that, but earlier we saw they burned the old couple who'd killed themselves,
Mhm.
and they put their ashes in that tree. It's some fucking magic tree, dude. It's like the Bug's Life tree or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like it's some magic.
It's a big
tree.
deal.
Well, they put all their ancestors for the last 10,000 years in that tree, so you can imagine.
The anger that some of these people would have when this Mark guy is drunkenly and
He's not even drunk.
well, he's not drunk, but he's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
high.
he is high. But and Mark obviously we didn't mention, but he went to take a nap during the whole suicide.
Yeah, so he
thing.
didn't even
And
get
out of
any
all
of
the
it.
people, I feel like he would have been the one that enjoyed it the most.
Well, and that's what he said too. He goes, "Man, out of all the things you guys let me sleep through, that was it." And I'm thinking, "Damn, that's your first go-to."
Yeah. So Josh, he pees on the tree, and some guy.
No, Mark does. Mark
pees on the
tree,
tree. My bad. Not Josh. That'd
Yeah.
be very out of character for Josh in this movie. But Mark does, and immediately this fucking guy just lights him up.
Like freaks out.
Like everyone else is upset, but this guy,
this one guy wants to kill him. Makes no bones about it.
he's flying off the handle. He's going nuts. And Mark, he's not doing anything. He's not apologizing. I don't know. He's blaming the tree. And they're all freaking out, and everyone's like, "Dude, you really did fucking screw up on this one."
Yeah,
I mean,
just
there's
own
not
it.
much-
Just take a little responsibility. You might not have meant to, but you still fucked up. Just
Can you
apologize.
tell by how much one guy loved this tree that you can tell it's something special? If this guy is losing his goddamn mind over this, and it's so funny because throughout the rest of this movie, until Mark ends up meeting his demise,
Which is
you
like
can just
almost
see
the
the
next
guy
scene.
in the back just staring
at him, yeah, at the dinner table and stuff.
It
It's
ruined
like,
this-
Is that guy still pissed?
It ruined this guy's fucking year.
It did.
He's not having a good time anymore. Everyone else is having a good time. He's just
It's
the
probably
festival's
because
over.
his fucking cousin wife died last year and she was buried in it or some shit. Now he's pissed off because he peed on the tree.
I know, but he was the only the rest of them can at least fake they're having a good time.
This guy not
was
the best actor. Not the best actor in
He's
the
like,
cult.
I am gonna this isn't tradition anymore. I'm gonna homicide murder this guy. You might have to arrest me after this. But yeah, Euron's on a tree, and Mark is eventually lured away by a female member.
Later
He's
that
been-
night. That's at the dinner table scene. Where
Yeah.
he's like, is that guy still pissed? And then the girl lures him away. And it's like, do you not see that coming, my guy? Like, how do you not see...
Well, him and this girl have kind of been exchanging looks the entire time, right?
yeah.
So he's
looks.
thinking, oh,
He's like,
this
oh,
is
yeah,
it.
this is it. This is the time.
Yeah, and he's like, is that guy still mad at me? Pans over, the guy's dead, staring 3 feet away, just burning into his soul. She lures him away, and that's the last we see of Mark.
It is. Until
Well,
that night.
Yeah.
We do see a little bit more Mark that night.
That's the last we see of Mark's body. We see more of his skin later on.
We do. And hey, there's something kind of cool. When they first show up, I thought this was very dark because it's like Ring Around the Rosie, right? They said, oh, what are the kids playing over there? And it's called, oh, Skin the Fool.
Yeah. Which is a fun
Right.
game they used to...
Skin the Fool.
Only a game that could come from the fucking 1300s or whenever,
Yeah.
something fun like that.
But
Skin the Fool.
at that end scene with the yellow pyramid house, the old house, they put a Joker hat on him.
Oh, yeah.
With the
Well,
hay body.
he was the fool
'Cause
then.
he
Yeah,
was the
I
fool.
immediately knew that he was going to be the fool. I mean, he was an actual fool.
An actual fool. Yeah, so...
Like, if
I
anyone
guess it worked
actually
out.
even anyone in the world you're going to kill, pick this guy up. He's the most foolish fucking person you could dream of.
Mhm.
But yeah, so, and before that, we the Ring Around Posey Rod, we also see that Jack Christian, he's flirting with this other chick.
A little bit. Yeah, the redhead.
Well, he's not flirting with her.
She's flirting with him. She was
Yeah.
kicking him.
And then Paley comes up and he's like, she just got her period. You're good to go, my guy.
yeah, he's like, we're because it was different tradition there in their homeland or whatever. They said that adult age is different than
Yeah, it wasn't anything no one thought of it as weird.
yes.
I mean, Christian didn't even say anything. Christian didn't even go, oh, I got a girlfriend. He just went, oh, okay.
Yeah, he's like, all right, I'll keep that one in my back pocket. Maybe later
You
this
never
week.
know.
You never
You get that
know.
kind of info, you gotta hold on to that.
You
baby.
gotta just hold
You don't
on
have
to
to.
it.
You don't have to act on it.
You
but
don't.
just keep that in.
Keep it in mind.
Holster that for later. You never know. So yeah, and he does. And this whole time, she's really staring at him.
She is.
She's really
She's
giving him
getting
the
him the
eye,
old
the
fuck
fuck
eye,
eye for
yeah.
sure. And it's so even obvious where it's kind of awkward to him. He's like,
She's really into me right now. She's really digging me. It's almost a little too much.
And but that night after Mark is lured away, Josh sneaks in the temple. He wants to get a peek at that
The Bible thing.
the sacred
Yeah,
ruin
Sacred
text.
Ryan.
And he's getting pictures. And who walks in the back door?
Mark.
It's Mark.
He's back. Good, Mark. He had a good night.
Mark,
that
you crazy
night.
old son of a bitch.
God,
You still
man.
pissing on trees?
Why are you naked? Why are you dick
Why are you
hanging
walking
out?
so
What's
funny?
going on? Yeah.
Why are you walking weird?
Oh, that's
Why
not...
why do you look like you're about 50 pounds heavier? Because there's a larger man wearing him.
your skin.
Yeah, so Mark, and it's a cool shot. We're joking about, it, but it's a cool shot where it's in the dark,
Mhm.
but something's wrong.
Yeah,
he
know it's
doesn't
not-
look
no.
right. It's a great
And he's naked too. And
As
the
far
guy
as-
wore his skin pants. He pulled over his skin pants.
Well,
and
that's what I'm
his
saying. As
face.
far as skinning goes, it's a great
It's a pretty
skin
good job.
It looks pretty. I
It
mean, he was
does.
wearing his hands.
Yeah,
I
he
think.
was.
As
It was
gloves. I don't even know
very
how you
well.
do that.
Very well done.
But
I mean,
we
you
end up
have to-
we end up learning though later that they are taught how to skin animals and all
Mhm,
kinds
at a
of
very
things at a
young
very
age.
young age. So I'm guessing they have some.
Well, even with the bear.
Yes,
They
yeah,
were
exactly.
teaching
That's what I'm
him
talking about. Yeah,
intestinal
exactly.
cutting and stuff like that. So
And we do later on know, but it is that guy who's wearing Mark's skin.
Mhm.
It's the guy who hated him.
yeah,
He knew he was gonna do it. I mean,
knew he was gonna kill him.
He knew he was gonna kill him. Yeah,
He just could not wait for the opportunity.
he kind of showed his cards early,
Yeah, not the best poker player alive.
which I'm sure they were probably upset in like the compound.
They're
They're
dude,
probably like,
take it easy. You will get your revenge on this guy. Come on.
you're showing it right now. You're freaking out.
He's
You know
one
you're
asshole
gonna.
in the cult.
And Josh ends up getting hit over the head with a hammer.
Oh my god, what a brutal scene
And
too.
they literally only have one hammer in this
They do.
entire.
And they put.
I
it to
wonder if
good
they
use
build the
throughout whole
houses with
movie.
that hammer.
They
Just
do,
one
probably just one tool. It works.
Because they use it for everything, dude.
Mm.
And they beat him. They bash him over the goddamn head.
Just one time though, but they showed that in the
But
trailer.
it's a 90-pound hammer.
Exactly. Well, when you saw the back of his skull, you could see bone.
Yeah, no, and it's one of
Bone
those
crushed.
things where you sometimes in movies you see someone get hit in the head, you're like, oh, is he alive?
No.
In this one,
You know
You're
he's
not
dead.
bouncing
and
back.
he's making because he's making noises, which actually is the case. If you're going to hit someone over the head so hard like that, where he's like making,
oh yeah, dude, it's
like
a
those
fucking
kind of noises
death
where it's like he's
rattle.
dead.
Yeah.
It's taken a little while for the old body to shut down.
It wasn't 4 hits for this one, which would have
It
been
was-
hilarious
it
if he
would have been,
passed the
yeah.
hammer on it. The fourth. Like, man, this is such a like. No matter what they hammer, even when they're
It
hammering
has
a
to be
nail, they
4
have to
hits.
hammer it 4 hits.
It's a ritual. But no, they only had to hit him one time and they killed him.
Yeah, because that guy did a pretty good job.
Yeah, he swung that fucker hard.
And it was so weird too because I don't know how they got into the room.
Yeah.
I mean, there had to have been some.
There's got to be secret
I mean, it's possible that
entrances
they
and
were
stuff.
fucking in the room the entire time,
Mhm,
and they were
probably.
just
They
in,
probably
like,
knew he was
because it was
gonna go
very
take
dark,
pictures.
and it could have, yeah, because they know.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
shadows are easy to hide in.
and they all got all kinds of. They never shows real magic, like we don't talk. But there's something else. I mean,
There's something
that
mystical
they're
about it.
connected to
Mhm.
because they knew exactly what each one of these people, what part they're gonna play.
Yeah.
Right when they started, they knew that he was gonna be the fool because it shows it in the painting. And
It
everything.
does.
And they do it every 90 years where they find these 5 exact people. So, I mean, I wonder if it's the same thing where every time it's the same thing where someone goes, sneaks in,
Mhm.
someone pisses on the tree. I wonder if it's the same thing every
Yeah.
time.
Or variables very close to
Yeah, or something, something like it. But, yeah, so he gets hit in the head. He gets dragged away. Some dude's wearing Mark's naked skin. They're both dragged out of the building. Well, I guess Mark walks out of the building.
Yeah, technically not on his own will, but nonetheless he walks out.
It's his own skin. He's
It is
walking
his
out of
skin,
there on
yeah.
his own. But the next day, and people are starting to disappear at this point.
A lot of people.
But you got to take a note around.
And that was so weird that Christian and Danny didn't even like. 2 of their friends are gone, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they're just out with the girl or whatever." I'm like, "What? They're gone all day."
No, you remember what happens at the start of the day? They tell him that Josh stole the fucking.
Oh yeah, stole the book. Yeah, stole the sacred book.
and
then-
that then the other guy ran off. Mark ran off with him. Remember, Christian is dumb at. I mean, because he's such a dick. He actually is a fucking dick. Because remember, he's like, oh.
I'm not even friends with them. I don't even
I don't even like
associate
those
with
guys.
them.
His
Yeah.
best friend, he probably fucking grew up.
And
with
that kind of
these
shows
guys.
you the character that he is. The
Well,
kind
not
of
even
guy
that
he
because
is.
yeah, exactly, and it also showed that he would do anything because he immediately wanted to take advantage. He wanted to be the only one now that was going to do
Write the
and his
thesis.
and his friends are disappeared. That shows some kind of concern. Danny is concerned. They're not even her fucking friends.
Mm-hmm. No, they're not. She cares more than Christian does at this
And
point.
Danny is also very concerned about Connie and Simon
Mm-hmm.
because Danny's the only one who's like, I can't imagine him leaving without her. Like we don't even know her, and everyone's like, calm down.
Well, yeah,
Danny."
because Danny was talking to Connie afterwards. Remember, she was also packing
yeah.
when she was freaking out, and then Danny and Connie were talking.
And Danny was like, why would Simon just leave her?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, who knows?
Who knows? It's not our problem.
Again, showing what a great queen Danny would make.
She would.
Yeah. And
Flower queen.
the next day, Danny participates in a little maypole dancing competition.
Yep.
Little dance off they have in Sweden. It's an odd one for sure.
Girls twerking back and no,
No,
not at all.
none of
no,
that,
They dance in
unfortunately.
circles. A lot
Yeah,
of
and
circles.
it's the dance off where it's like first person to or last
To
person to die
yeah.
wins. And during this little dance, and and before this, we gotta talk about the dinner that they have where Christian he takes a bite of the meat pie.
And there's some pubes in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
we come to
something
find
you
out.
never want to find in any food.
I would say never.
This is before everyone dies because Mark is immediately he's like, dude, that's a fucking pube.
Mhm.
And his drink also looks a little different too.
It does. It looks a little redder than the other drinks. A little bit more like a orangish than yellow
It's
drink.
giving off all, and luckily he does. Oh, he does take a sip of it.
He does take a sip of it. Yeah,
Disgusting.
that's tough, man.
I'll tell you, for people that are not connecting this, is it's probably menstrual blood.
It is menstrual blood. Yes, it definitely is. There were foreshadowing in
I
when they
don't.
showed up to Midsommar.
But again,
so,
this is all things that it showed before that we knew. I mean, we didn't
We
know
knew it
were
was
going to
gonna
happen.
happen
But yeah, I
eventually.
mean, it showed all this. Something that we shouldn't be surprised. But yeah, and he takes a bite and he's like, well, that's a little fucked up.
Yeah.
Again, not freaking out, really.
No, he was just like,
And then he looks over to the girl and she's just,
staring right
you
at
like
him.
that? Yeah.
You into that? Serve you up some later.
Give you a
Matter
little
of
something,
fact.
something special in
Got a
there.
little baggie here you can eat afterwards.
And during the dance off, so fast forward, during the dance off, Christian, he's meeting with they tell Christian to go meet up with like the head lady, right?
Mhm.
And and Danny takes a drink, and this drink they've been doing mushrooms and all this,
They
but
have
this
been.
drink's something special.
It's strong.
It's something like magic potion, where it's something that's gonna fuck you up. It's something that's gonna kind of connect you to all of us, because they're all taking it, right?
Yeah.
And of course, no one's telling anyone what's in these drinks. No one's guessing. They're just.
They're just drinking. They don't care.
So she starts drinking and she starts tripping out, and this is when it gets real. It's just from here on out, it's one long fucking fear and loathing.
Yeah,
It's,
one giant trip.
It's one giant trip from here on out. Christian, he goes meets up with the lady. The lady tells Christian he is accepted into. We have done the paperwork. Comes back.
Welcome. You are approved.
The background track looks good. Where
Yeah.
everything's checking out, and you are good to fuck, my friend. You are in the green. He's there. Everyone's saying you guys are compatible. You and this other lady who's been feeding you her pubes all weekend.
Yeah.
They're saying you guys are good to go. And I love even this. And this is a part that I thought was funny too. When he's like, yeah, I think I ate one of her pubes. And the lady was like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm like,
Most likely,
okay,
yeah.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, and that was really when Christian made the choice. When he took that drink, when he drank it, that was when he made the choice to do what he did.
Oh yeah.
You know, that was when I was like,
For-
okay, that was definitely a choice that he made.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And it's definitely. I mean, the entire time, and this is something that's very important that we didn't talk about. They don't force them into anything.
They don't.
They don't. I mean, especially with Christian and Danny, at least.
Mhm.
I mean, they probably forced Mark to give up
die.
his skin.
Yeah.
He probably didn't-
He probably just
He
hand
probably
that
didn't
over
reluctantly.
willingly.
Was
Yeah.
like, I pissed on your tree. I feel like I owe you guys
I owe you
something.
guys something, so take my face.
But again, it never feels like they're like. It's not a cult where it's like where it's like every movie cult we see. I mean, they're like, oh, very nice, but it's like, okay, don't leave. You can't do that. You got to wear this. You got to do this. It's always this thing where it's like your choice, and they always do make the choice.
Yeah, they do.
Like Christian, he makes the choice to go and cheat on Danny
Yep.
and fuck that fucking weird redhead crazy chick. Like he 100% makes that choice for himself. And Danny, she makes the choice to drink. They don't drug her or anything.
They don't?
She takes the drink and whatnot, even though she knows it's gonna fuck her up. But eventually they let Christian go. He meets up with the elder, says you're good to go, clear to fuck. The landing strip's all there.
It is
You're good
there.
to take off,
It's
my
there.
friend.
Take it.
I wish things were just that easy, man, where they just set you up.
They just set you up, and
Yeah.
a ritual. It'd be a little odd to have about 15 elderly women watching you.
It would be odd,
Participate,
but those women, they're Swedish women,
And
and
they
I
were
gotta say,
getting into it.
and they're. I mean, the older ladies weren't, but the regular other ladies that
Yeah,
they're
they
gonna
were.
pair you up, beautiful.
Not
dude.
bad.
And I think this is one of my conspiracies. Maybe is they chose Danny. Danny's perfect. They fuck Danny looks exactly like all of them.
She does,
but
look
they're
like a
not blood.
Swede. Yeah.
So so they're not really ever taking an outsider in. They're not bringing in some chick from fucking, I don't know, Egypt or something. Someone that's
Right.
gonna really throw off the entire. They're bringing in someone. I mean, she's blonde and white, just like all of them.
Just like
are.
all
Yeah.
the other ones are. Yeah.
So it's the perfect kind of setup. They love it. But yeah, and Danny eventually wins off this fucking May Queen thing. She's crowned the main queen. May Queen is whoever lasts the longest
in this dance ritual.
And this whole dance thing, it's hard to explain, but it's as you're watching it, it's crazy, right?
It is.
Like it's getting like people are falling down, like they're hurting, and the whole time the room's spinning, everything's spinning, the trees are in the background. You're seeing the goddamn faces during this time, and it's getting crazy. But Danny wins it. She takes, and it's gotta be tough when an outsider comes in and takes the May Queen spot.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta think those other ladies were a little jelly.
Oh, definitely.
Because May Queen's a big deal. But yeah, and Christian ends up finding his way into
at the same time, because as she's getting crowned, after she gets crowned, he's getting groomed to like do this crazy sexual.
Well, she gets crowned. She's real drugged up at this time. She's real fucked up. They kind of wheel her in. She's wearing the crown.
They bring her in that cart too, or whatever it is, carousel, or what is it?
It is a it's the
whatever that is.
I can't remember.
I don't know what
it's
they're called.
The fucking I can't remember what it's called either. A stagecoach.
Yeah, stagecoach. There you go.
God damn. But this is before because they go and they're eating dinner again after the thing, right? And now Danny's the leader, because like no one's eating right, no one's doing anything. They're all waiting for Danny.
Yep.
Danny waits. Danny doesn't say anything. She's like already fucking in. Obviously,
yeah, she already
like,
knows
she's
what's
starting.
going on.
You see, she's starting to like blend into this society, and then we keep getting spots. Christian's at the table too, or he just stumbles to the table because he's really fucking tripping, and he's like freaking out. Everyone else is like perfectly straight up. And Christian is like, what is going on?
In the old guy, he goes, what is going on? And the guy claps.
Yeah, and I love it. And there's like that, and that really fucks him up.
It does.
And Jack Rayner does such a good job of looking fucked up. Like, I mean, it must be from experience. I mean, I don't doubt it. Yeah. Because he does such a good job of looking so scared and not looking like he's so uncomfortable, right? Just a bad trip.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they start eating. They take Danny in the stagecoach. They say that's a thing that they do. They just go. It's kind of weird. It's surreal, to be honest, because the stagecoach, it's not pulled by horses. It's pulled by fucking women.
Yeah, by women.
A bunch of women. And they're all like galloping like horses. It's
strange.
Very strange. They wheel her out. Then another fucking flower girl comes out, starts laying down this path for Christian.
For Christian, yeah.
And he's like, is this really happening? He's focused. He's trying to focus on one thing. He's like, is that chick
that
really?
path is for me? Should walk it.
Yeah. And he says, hey, what the hell? I see a path. I'm walking. He walks it. He gets into the room, or they change his clothes into those one gowns because they're all wearing these weird white colt gowns. And he goes in this room, and where does that little flower trail lead?
Right to Maja, who is butt-ass naked, laying on like this Adam and Eve kind of like weird blanket thing with like 10 women surrounding her, also naked. Yeah.
Older women who have been through I'm guessing a similar.
The ritual. Right.
And it's he's the only one fucking, but it's an orgy.
Yes, because everyone else is making noises and stuff like that.
And it's a thing where they're all connected, even through pain or pleasure. Mm-hmm. So even when one lady's getting railed, they're all like, we're all getting railed. Baby, this is the best night. Yeah. For sure. And it goes into, and it is an odd scene, and it's full front
the theater,
tell.
And this is actually, I take back my earlier statement because a lot of people were laughing. I mean, hysterically.
Really?
Yeah, because it was a night scene, and there were a lot of younger people in that movie because it was 10:45, so it was like 1 a.m. at this point. And I think because the tension was building so much in the movie that when they saw a bunch of old people also moaning and doing the thing, there was a lot of laughter. But it was like nervous, uncomfortable laughter.
It's the defense laughter where you're like, oh, if I'm laughing at this, it can't be scary.
Right. It wasn't like a slapstick, like, oh, this is funny. It was more like
it's a bizarre scene you never really think you're ever going to see.
Yeah.
in anything.
And you almost feel like, I mean, imagine go to this movie for the first time, like just glazed out of your mind. You would be really like, what am I watching?
Oh, absolutely. So they go, and Christian, he ends up getting down with her, right? Mm-hmm. And he ends up fucking her. Yep. And again, Jack Rayner, it shows him completely naked. I'm talking about he's probably got a half chub going on.
He does,
and it's showing it.
It does show it.
It's very surprising. And Ari Aster said for 6 weeks this had an NC-17 rating.
It did.
He said it went back and forth, and he had to cut out eventually 30 minutes of it. But I hear they didn't have to cut very much out of that scene with Jack
Wow.
Rayner. I heard Jack Rayner said that when they pitched him it, he's like, "Oh, let's just go full on," because he's running around for a good 15 minutes,
He is
butt-ass naked, and it's showing down everything. So he ends up fucking the girl, and it's the best. It's the best fucking post-nut clarity that you're ever gonna see in a movie. As soon as he finishes, he's like,
"Oh fuck!
I made a big
Huge mistake."
He's like, not even that I just cheated my girlfriend, but I'm not fucking making it out of here.
No.
Like, it's something definitely wrong for sure. He ends up running around. He's freaking out. Danny's still doing God knows what in the fucking stagecoach.
Well, no, she peeked in on him. Remember? They were like, "What's
Oh, yeah.
over there?" And she's like, "That's not for you." And she walks over there
Yes.
anyway, peeks through the keyhole and see that. And I like that they didn't show him fucking her when she looked through the peephole.
Yeah.
You know, because then we just saw Danny's reaction to the whole thing.
Well, and that's another thing that I liked a lot about them not controlling her or anything. Because remember, they're like, let's go this way. And she immediately finds this kind of attraction to go because she knows something. I mean,
when you hear 11 women go,
and not even that, but
like,
even when
what
you
is
get,
going on?
sometimes you can get a sense when something's wrong. You
Yeah,
know, you can kind of,
something's
if
off.
something, once in a while, you'll feel something like, oh, something's not right here.
Mhm.
And she gets that feeling, but they don't force her they don't even force her to, like, maybe it was their plan to show her that, but it's not played out like that. It's like 100% horror truth. They tell her, like, you don't want to go over there. You're not going to like what you see. She goes and ends up doing it anyways. And at this point, though, Danny's getting real fucking intertwined in this group.
Yeah, definitely so.
But
Because she has a panic attack immediately, and they take her back to the Marja or whatever that thing's called, where they were sleeping.
yeah, the communal fucking
And they're
sleeping
all
grounds.
all the ladies are mimicking her very panic attack. So like
Well,
like
at
every
the start,
time.
so they bring her in there and she's really freaking out,
Mhm.
and then she's really freaking out, and they're all like touching her and everything, and for the first time you can tell it's like the first kind of fucking, I mean, a tragedy's happening, and they're all with her. You know, it's all kind of how it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Right? That's the best thing for a tragedy, and it's kind of foreshadowed. But Paley talks about it earlier that his parents were also killed, and how this became his whole family because of how tight they are. So she starts panicking, and then it becomes this transition where they start kind of building it up,
Mhm.
and it starts mimicking, and then it becomes perfectly aligned.
Yeah, perfectly in
Where
sync.
now it seems like they're just one person.
Yeah.
And it's a great scene. It's a scene that was shown in the trailer quite a bit, but it's still just as powerful when you watch it, when they're all on the ground breathing. And it's not like where I would even be probably annoyed, because whenever someone like starts fake cry, like when you were crying as a kid, oh,
Yeah,
it's annoying.
yeah,
it's
it is,
super
yeah.
annoying. But yeah, it's just comforting, and it ends up feeling like what it ends up really feeling like. And Christian running around after Danny, he nuts, runs out. He's freaking out. He runs to
the shed.
To the shed.
Where he finds, and this is actually, again, we talk about Ari Aster doing good research. What he discovers in that shed is what's known as the Blood Eagle,
Well, first he
which is
finds
Viking culture.
Josh's leg.
Sticking out,
And it's
out
not
of the
even
ground.
hidden. It's in the fucking garden.
Yeah.
And that's something, a whole nother fucking probably tradition or something.
Yeah, that was confusing to me why they buried him like that.
I'm sure it was a fucking some kind of
Some
weird
sort of
Viking
weird,
tradition, because they had so much tradition that had to do with blood and torture and everything like that. Yeah,
Sacrifice.
it was all like sacrifice through pain, though. That's what the whole entire thing is with. I mean, just from me watching the show, The Vikings, that's what I learned. But yeah, the Blood Eagle, it's kind of a kind of well-known thing, I guess, kind of now with
with
the more
Vikings.
Viking stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
on History Channel, they do it quite often too.
yes,
On that TV show.
well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
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 Vikings, exactly. For the people, should I try to explain it? What the Blood Eagle is?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, kind of. I mean, you rip the back of the rib cage open, and if you do it correctly, you can take out the lungs, and it can still function.
Well, not even that. It's they flay the back,
Mhm.
open the skin up.
Yep.
Then they drill holes through the back of your ribs. They'll drill a small hole, and through that hole, they're able to take that little tiny hole. They're able to take the lungs out without disconnecting anything through the hole. So you can bring them out. Somehow you can pull the entire lungs through a little tiny hole, and you flay them out, and it gives the appearance of wings, bloody wings.
Oh, see, I thought you just ripped the rib cage.
No,
open.
it's done. It's all done while you're alive. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was still alive.
Oh
Poor
yeah,
guy.
yeah. He was so. Oh, and that's
Still breathing.
That's
Which, how long do you keep someone
That's
like that
Simon
alive
that
for?
he finds, the
Yeah,
British
the
guy,
British guy.
who ended up taking the trip home.
Oh man. So
How
he's
long?
been there
you're
for a
alive
while.
for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
He also does that in the TV show Hannibal on ABC. Hannibal ends up doing that to one of the people, but a blood eagle.
Oh man, that's brutal.
It's a tough way to go out for sure. I wouldn't recommend it.
No, neither would I.
I'd much rather take the leap off the cliff.
Yeah, I'll take that 10 times out of 10. It seems a little faster. A little less cruel.
So Christian, he's freaking out. He's seeing all this, and then an old guy. He's just in the fucking shed with him. He blows a little powder into his nose, gives him a little something. And this is some crazy drug that just paralyzes you, but you're you're awake through everything, and you can feel everything, but you're awake. And they kind of literally everything. I think pufferfish maybe do that, where you're paralyzed like that. But
oh, that's where they get the dust from?
well, I don't know, but I know pufferfish have a similar poison where you're just completely like paralyzed, where like you can't even move your eyelids. You know, someone's got to come open up your eyelids for you, because that's what they do. Remember,
Yeah.
they come up and they
They
open up
each
his
one of them.
Yeah, because he can't even control that. And the Cole explains that at the conclusion of the ritual, 9 human sacrifices must be offered, and this is what they do every 90 years. The first 4 victims are outsiders.
Yep.
Simon, Connie, Josh,
And
Mark. That's the 4 outsiders. And then and they were the ones lured by Paley and Ingmar. The next 4 victims are cult members.
Yeah, they're joining the ritual. They volunteer.
And again, it's
2
that
of
kind of thing where it's like, okay, well, if your guys are going to die, then we're going to die. 50-50. It's fair. I mean, it's fucking backwards and bizarre.
It is. It's so strange.
But it's this thing where, like, okay, it's not just sacrifice for you, but we actually have to sacrifice also. And, and he explains that the next 4 victims are cult members, the 2 suicide elders, the old people.
Yep.
That was the 2. And then 2 people that just volunteer, and one of them's fucking Igmar. And the other guy is just some random guy.
Some random person.
Just some cool fucking guy. And but the ninth sacrifice is something special.
It is.
You can either pick an outsider or it's dealer's choice. You can pick.
What did the Mayflower Queen? What did the Maid Queen do?
Well, I love how they build this up, and I chuckled a little bit, and I'm probably the only one that probably will find this funny. But I found it so funny. They're like, okay, you can pick Christian, who Christian is now in this giant bear costume. They dissected this bear and put him in this bear costume. And they're like, or you can pick Bjorn, nicest guy in the village. Like Bjorn, who everyone loves.
Yep.
And Bjorn comes up, and he's the sweetest guy. Everyone's like high-fiving. We love Bjorn. And there's like, or you can pick Christian, who just cheated on you 15 minutes ago and who hates your guts.
And who,
Or
and the relationship's been
Or
dead.
you can pick Bjorn, and Bjorn's just the nicest, coolest guy. He's waving. He's having a good time.
Do you think there was even a thought?
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't show her make the choice. And I really liked how they did that. I thought that was interesting. It doesn't show the kind of process that she went into.
But she did make a choice because he ended up dying.
It never shows her make the choice.
No.
Yeah. That's what I thought was done interesting. It never shows her just go, okay, Christian. I mean, yeah, she obviously made the choice.
Right. But we just didn't see her make the choice.
And at this point, she's like becoming a bush. Remember?
I know,
in
yeah.
And it's
She's
just
in
her
that
head.
giant thing and all of, only her head's popping out of the...
At that point, I'm like, is she actually turning into a bush? But it ended up just being a dress.
Yeah.
But and she ends up choosing, well, obviously it doesn't show, but she did end up choosing Christian as that ninth final victim.
Mm-hmm.
And bitter and heartbroken, Danny chooses Christian to sacrifice. He's stuffed in a disemboweled bear. Poor bear did nothing wrong.
No, it didn't. It was just sitting there in that small ass cage.
Yeah.
I felt bad for it.
And even when and that was one thing they weren't too honest about. Because one guy was like, what's with the bear? He's like, it's a bear.
Yeah.
And then he didn't have to say, oh, we're going to sacrifice that thing and stuff you in it later. But they end up doing that.
They do.
And
They definitely do
he's
that.
placed in a disemboweled bear and placed in the yellow temple alongside the ritually prepared corpses. We see Mark the Fool.
Mm-hmm.
We see whatever Josh was, the scholar. I don't know what they're going to call him. But they end up And Mark, whoever has to wheel in Mark gets the easy job because he's like stuffed with hay. He's like 3 pounds heavy at this point. He props him up there, and I like how realistic it is, where he keeps falling forward. And the guy who played that part must have been like, "This is so fucked up. I'm gonna keep having to prop this skinned guy up, man. It's horrifying."
And the way it all burned too was pretty realistic.
It was, and how realistic how the sacrifices didn't. It wasn't like they were like fine with it once it started happening.
Screaming
it was
in
shitty.
pain.
Yeah. Because remember, they give him some from the Yule tree or some shit like that. They're like from the tree, and apparently no one can have that because that's a drug that really gets you numb, I guess. But really, it's just, I think, faking them out kind of makes them calm down because they do not like when they start burning.
No, because they're definitely still in pain.
Yeah, and as the temple burns, the cult celebrates the completion of the ritual, and Danny at first sobs in horror, but gradually begins to smile.
And that is what was creepy about
it. That's what
it.
Midsummer's all about. Yeah,
it is.
That is. The ritual was...
But she found a new family, and she seems happy now. And it was a story about, Danny's kind of...
To be honest, she's happier probably than she would have ever been. Definitely happier than she would have ever been as a Christian.
Did they ever get into why this ritual must take place every 90 years?
No. I don't think they ever explained. I mean, it's definitely very possible that explained in the background at some point through pictures and whatnot. But I'm guessing it's just a thing of giving back to the land and whatnot. I mean, it's every 90 years, so it's not... If they're having this every year...
It's so weird, the idea of rituals. Because, they don't really do anything. They're just something that humans do.
Yeah.
But, sacrificing 9 people, that does nothing.
Some people think it does.
I don't.
I know, but you think whatever you want, but I mean, there's a large group...
I know, but why is that, though? It's just so strange, because it does nothing.
Well, I mean,
people still believe it. There's no science backed up by it, or anything.
Why
do
people not believe in climate change?
This is true.
People don't. I mean, there's not a large proportion of people that are basing their daily lives off science.
Yeah.
There was, the world would be a lot better place. But I mean, there's absolutely people that believe that a sacrifice of a large amount of people does give some kind of energy, and even people believe that places like Disneyland are just these giant palaces that are there to store energy. With just these large portions of people coming and giving to it, it gives some kind of power to the land or something. People always believe that kind of shit.
Yeah, it's strange. I don't believe in it at all.
Yeah, well, it's whatever you believe in.
Yeah, I guess so.
There's a lot of people that, I mean, I would say probably majority of traditions got to spawn from. I mean, I think everyone at one point is sacrificed. All cultures. I mean, well, you got to fucking think for this place. This place is fucking awesome. They do it every 90 years, and they're living the dream. So you got to think something's working.
That's true.
I
Yeah.
mean, who knows? You stop sacrificing every 90 years. You have a fucking plague or something. Half your town's gonna die.
Good point.
So I mean, it's tradition. Tradition is stupid. I mean, it's
stupid.
based
Tradition
off
is
its
very
stupidity. Yeah, it's based off apps. Tradition is dead people dictating and telling you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Tradition is only done for people in the past.
I just think about the lives that could have been fully lived, like those 2 young men. And I'm like, man, why did they have to be sacrificed? It just seems a little odd. It seems stupid. But I get it,
Yeah, well, they thought one. I think they thought they were going to be reborn and born into another. So
that's the common belief with that.
So they didn't believe. So
stuff.
yeah, usually people in a sacrifice don't believe that this is the end, and that it's because if they did, I think they'd be much more scared.
Definitely, yeah. On second thought, not.
Yeah,
not
this is my one run. Maybe I want to live a little longer.
Maybe I'm not going to volunteer for this. Why don't we let Jack do this?
Yeah, but you got to think, if you really believe in it, man, you got to be thinking like, hell yeah, I sacrifice myself, come back as the king or something, or come back as a hawk, even.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Now we're talking.
Yes, we are.
Well, Mason, what are your final thoughts on Midsommar? Was it everything you could have imagined?
Yeah, I think it lived up to the hype. I really do. I thought there were scenes that made me so uneasy, so grossed out. I thought, wow. I thought the way this film was shot was beautiful. I really loved it. I felt like I was tripping the whole time.
Yeah,
I really did. I felt like I was
the best way.
Yeah, that just something just was always off here. As beautiful as it was, as beautiful as the people were, as beautiful as the setting was, you always felt uneasy there. And that's what this movie did really well. I like the storyline. I like how they took a breakup and Ari made it a completely different thing that we've never seen in we've never seen this in any sort of breakup film ever.
No.
Ever. Yeah. And you're not going to convince me otherwise. Like, and that's one of the things. I love the originality of like his movies. I love that this is just something completely new and unique that he's able to dive into. For me, I'm going to give this movie. I've been going back and forth, but I think I'm going to give this movie a B+. I think it did everything I wanted it to.
Yeah.
Do. I really enjoyed this. If I'm being completely honest, I did enjoy Hereditary slightly more.
Ooh, that's what I was going to ask you.
Slightly more as far as just the creep factor and everything. But am I mad at this movie? Am I not going to recommend? Oh, fuck no. I love this movie. I thought it was fucking awesome. And we talk about a lot of times where new artists make a movie and we're like, man, is their second movie going to be as good?
Sophomore, yeah.
Yeah, their sophomore movie, is it going to be as good? Is their sophomore film going to be as good? This one was for me. It was just as good. And I'm not going to do the slight little, Hereditary was a little better, because both movies kick ass. This is exactly what we want to see when we go see an Ari Aster film.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. I went into it thinking it was going to be, again, like Hereditary, where it's just going to be nonstop, very scary. And I was pleasantly surprised that it was something on its own. It was its own movie. It didn't do anything that Hereditary did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but and I thought they're both very good. I probably do like Hereditary a little bit more, just because. I mean, I think Hereditary had that. Again, though, I don't think both of them are horror films. That's the thing, is I think they're two kind of separate genres,
And that's also fair.
Yeah, I think they're two. Where I think Hereditary was meant to be a lot scarier than this was. Although this has some extremely shocking stuff, and every time I explain that, people they think, "Oh, so it's not as scary." I just don't think it's
not scary. It's disturbing.
Yeah, it's
That's
more.
what
It's more making
disturbing.
you uncomfortable and whatnot, but it does. I say it's his own film, but it does. I mean, Ari is definitely making his own mark, where everything his film has very similar things. It's just like the most over exaggerated, where this is a breakup film, but it's the worst fucking breakup film
Of all time.
It's the worst breakup you could possibly have.
Mm-hmm.
Where Hereditary was a movie about loss and whatnot, but Hereditary was the worst fucking loss you could have.
Yeah.
I mean, your kid can die of pneumonia. She can die of all the things, but she's most likely not going to die of getting her head pulled off, and then.
By your older son who drove her, shouldn't have driven her to the party.
Yeah, and then drives her home. And then you end up finding her in the car in the back of the seat.
Ugh.
So
decapitated daughter.
Yeah, man. It's just Ari Aster.
He didn't say anything.
Yeah. But again, this movie is just. I think this movie is just as memorable though, with the scenes. I mean, it's very cool that he's doing different things, and he's not doing the thing where he's like, oh, I did really well at this one thing, I'm just going to keep doing it, because if it's
rehashing the same idea out over and over.
Yeah, and if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I mean, if you have that creativity and you can just keep making new stuff. I heard his next film, he said he was either going to do a comedy or a melodrama.
No
a
way.
timepiece or something. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
He said he won't go back to horror for another 3 or 4 films. He feels like, and he's.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, that's what he said. Well, but at this point, I'm not. But he also doesn't classify this as a horror film. He said
I just like disturbing films.
I think everything. I think everything he's make is gonna be disturbing.
Yeah.
I think he can make a straight up rom-com, and there'd be some fucked up scenes where you'd be like, oh, this is horrifying. So I don't. I mean, yeah, I'm not worried about. At this point, I'll go and see anything Ari Aster is going to make. Because, I loved it. Like you said, the cinematography is amazing. This film might be a little more beautiful than Hereditary is. Although Hereditary has amazing shots, but it remained
That's okay. You're doing what I'm doing.
It remained mostly in that house, you know. So it revolved mostly in that house, where this revolves in that, like, the Swedish countryside. And at one point, they go to, like, a quarry, and it's beautiful with all the wildflowers and everything like that. It's very, very good looking. And it's like you said, it's this thing where it's like, I should be feeling happy.
But I'm not.
I'm not. No. Like when you're there, you're like, oh, I should be feeling happy, but there's something in the back of my mind eating away at me that's saying,
something's not right.
Something's not right here. But yeah, I give this, man, It's right around a B plus for me.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, right around in that area. I loved it, and I will definitely go and see it again. Because, I mean, we did break it down quite a bit, but there's a few scenes that we didn't even break down. Like, there's the scene where she's dreaming. She goes out at night, and
That
the
was
smoke
crazy.
comes out of her
Yep.
mouth and whatnot. It's kind of like carbon monoxide coming out of her mouth. And at one point, when she's right
And
about to go to the
it
dance,
switches to her sister real quick, too.
and right before when she's going to the dance, too, remember her mom passes her.
That's right. And she's like, Mom?
Yeah, and then all the things are going on. She can't do it, and it's definitely her fucking mom.
It definitely is her mom.
So I mean, and it's one of those movies where you go back and you're gonna find. I feel like you're gonna find something different every time you go back and watch it. Just like Hereditary, where I go back to Hereditary, I'm still picking up small. Like I see cultists
The
in the
subtleties
background,
in it. Yep.
stuff that you're never gonna see in the first. And that's this kind of stuff that I fucking love about movies. Is that stuff for that rewatchability. We talk about it all the time, but being able to get me to go back to a theater and watching it again and kind of feeling like I'm watching a new movie for the second time. It's good, man. It's good filmmaking.
It's great filmmaking.
It's why we are here.
Yep.
It's why we chose to start a movie podcast, which for films like this, hopefully.
Definitely.
But yeah, so far it's pretty good. Pretty good. That might have been the best movie of the summer.
So far, yeah.
You think?
I mean, it was pretty good. I'd have to go back and think, have I seen a better one?
Is it better than Crawl? Is going to be the
I mean,
big...
Spider-Man was awesome. I really did enjoy Spider-Man, but that's kind of its own category. I always
Yeah.
categorize superheroes as a different genre.
Yeah, Spider-Man is great, but
But as far as like an original,
and it probably didn't have the acting as far as this film had.
No.
I mean, and this probably didn't have the cinematography.
and we didn't talk a lot about the acting, but the acting all around was amazing in this movie too.
Well, I do not see how Florence Pugh does not get an Oscar nomination for this.
Right.
I mean, how Toni Collette got an Oscar nomination. Now, Florence Pugh has to get an Oscar. How could she not, man? That's some of the best. But like you said,
She's great.
everyone did a great job. But this, and I haven't seen her in anything.
No, she doesn't have a ton of credits. I was looking up her history. She's a fairly new actress, but man, she crushed.
Yeah. Again, and those actors, again, it shows you the pull that Ari Aster has as a filmmaker. To get the best out of your actors, that's something special. That's something that Spielberg has, where he can always make almost anyone a pretty good actor.
Well, I mean, to be fair, she has worked, but she doesn't have. I think she only has she only has 15 credits.
Yeah. So I mean,
but she was an Outlaw King. I did see that. Lady Macbeth.
oh, you did see
Outlaw King. Outlaw King was pretty good.
Oh no,
it's on Netflix.
Oh, Outlaw King was with. I'm thinking of.
Outlaw King was good. That's the old.
I'm thinking of the Jude Law movie with in the medieval times. What was that with the giant elephants?
Oh no, that's King Arthur.
King Arthur.
No.
Yeah, Outlaw King was
Outlaw
with Chris
King's
Pine.
the one with Chris Pine, and it's actually really good. You should check it out. It's a good movie.
The guy who directs it is one of my favorite directors. He's directed a ton of different things.
David Mackenzie.
Yeah, he did. What's the movie with John Bernthal that we saw?
Hell or High Water. He did.
Hell or High Water, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah. Yeah, I can't. She was in that, huh? That's crazy. I
Yeah,
gotta
she
watch
was.
It. She's isn't she really Swedish or something? Oh no, she's British.
British. Yeah,
British,
she's
yeah.
a British actress. But now she's in Little Women. They're making a movie of that, and then Black Widow, the superhero movie Black Widow.
Wow.
Mhm. She's
That's
currently
awesome.
filming. I do not know the role because it does not say, but yeah, she's in Black Widow too. So that'll be cool.
Yeah. Well, she's an actress that I will never forget for sure.
Yeah, especially after this performance.
No matter what, everything I see her in, I'm gonna think this for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
No doubt. But yeah. Any other thoughts on it?
I think that's about it, man. We went almost as long as a movie.
Yeah, I felt like we are going to no matter what on that one.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those movies that it was so highly anticipated we had to talk about a lot.
Oh, for
you know?
sure. Yeah. Oh, we had to.
All right. Well, that's our review of Midsommar. Make sure to follow us on YouTube. Type in Have You Seen It? Have You Seen It podcast. We're the Angry Popcorn Guy. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Like this video. You can listen to our podcast in audio format on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. We have social media. You can follow us on Instagram. Have You Seen It? Twitter, Seen It Podcast. Facebook, type in Have You Seen It? Have You Seen It podcast? We'll be there. We got a lot more likes this week on Facebook, so keep that up as well, guys. If you're on iTunes, if you listen to us on iTunes, leave us a review on iTunes. It would greatly help the podcast. My name is Mason Knight, and that is Cash Kraus, and until next time.
Bye.